Recording in progress.
I call this meeting of the Greenbelt City Council to order. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Good evening. Ms. Niesel?
Here.
Ms. McKinney?
Here.
Ms. Pompey?
Here.
Ms. Pope?
Here.
Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Ms. Weaver?
Here.
Mayor Jordan?
Thank you. I'd like to invite you all to join us in a moment of silent reflection as we think about several Greenbelt residents, former residents, and others who have passed away since our last meeting. Olivia Octavia Cobb-White, Haven McKinney, Robert Musterman, and of course Neil Williamson. Please join us in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you so much. Mr. Robert, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's okay. And we've been starting our meetings with a reading of the Greenbelt Community Pledge. Council Member McKinney, would you like to share the pledge with us?
The strength of Greenbelt is diverse people living together in a spirit of cooperation. We celebrate all people by sharing together. All are enriched. We strive to be respectful, welcoming community that is open, accessible, safe, and fair.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. So we hold these council meetings twice a month, more or less, except for the summer and December. We hold these meetings to actually take actions and to consider legislation. So our work sessions and our meetings are always open to the public, except for executive sessions as authorized by state law, so that residents and others can observe council's deliberations. We do strive to provide reasonable opportunities for the public to voice opinions on matters being considered, so we'll pause periodically with the agenda items for public comment. During these times, if you wish to make a statement or to ask a question, if you're in the room, raise your hand, and after being recognized, you can go to the podium over there to the left. You'll need to state your name and where you live in Greenbelt for the minutes. If you're on Zoom, you can use the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen to submit a written question, or you can raise your virtual hand, and once again, after being recognized, you'll be promoted so you can speak. You'll need to actually provide your name in writing. We don't take anonymous comments online. And if you are watching on cable TV or on Zoom or on Facebook, you can send us an email. The email address is questions@greenbeltmd.gov. So the first section of our agenda is an open section for petitions and requests. And individuals wishing to speak, you've got 5 minutes. We ask that you speak on one topic. And as always, please avoid questioning the motives of others. And in general, let's all be civil in our remarks. So I'll ask the question, are there any petitions or requests? Mr. Lamond?
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. My name is Tom Lamond, 14 Laurel Hill Road. And since last summer, the situation in the Roosevelt Center has changed a little bit, in that there are fewer places to lock bicycles up in the Roosevelt Center, because the co-op has removed the green barrier that they used to have. And right now, there are only two spaces right outside of the co-op for bicycles to lock. There is another space across near the pedestrian underpass. That's another 2 bicycles. And then there are bicycle racks over by the Aquatics and Fitness Center. As a community that is striving to get people to use bicycles, I think it would be helpful for us to add more bicycle locking areas in the Roosevelt Center. I have a bike that I don't like to leave out of my sight, so I don't want to put it down by the Aquatics and Fitness Center. And really, if we want to get people to use bicycles in Greenbelt, it would be super helpful to have the bike racks where they can be used by people who are shopping, who are visiting merchants, who are visiting restaurants. So one of the suggestions that I have is that the space outside of the co-op where there's a rack for 2 bicycles, maybe one of the issues there is that it gets muddy and it's grass and muddy. Maybe some sort of platform could be put down and 3 or 4 more 2-bike stations could be put in there. I don't think it would detract from the aesthetics of the Roosevelt Center, and it would be a great resource for bicyclists. Right now, I tend to lock my bicycle onto the plastic fence at the New Deal Cafe or on the railing of the Granite building, which is not fair to the merchants. We're using their resources where the city should probably have more resources for the community. I'd be happy to share my ideas as a bicyclist. I know there are bicyclists on the city council, but that's my petition, that's my request.
Thanks for bringing that forward. Appreciate it. There is one additional rack. It's by the Greenbelt Theater down at the bottom of the steps. There's another rack there. But,
I did not realize that. I haven't. I think that's a really good point that there are more there, but I think it would be nice to. I think they should be out in the open. I think people should see them and be encouraged to use them.
Where would you put them if you said we should do it?
My one idea, well, I have 2 ideas, but the one I suggested was to just expand the space outside of the co-op with maybe a platform, maybe a gravel platform or mulch or something like that with the bike racks. Another place that I thought would be a possible location, 2 other possible locations. One would be right outside of the Granite building where there's kind of a slope going downhill right now. And another would be in that grassy area outside of GAC. Because that's not really an area that gets much use from what I can see. And it would be it would be a little bit closer than the Aquatics and Fitness Center. But it would still be out of sight. So that's kind of a little bit of an issue with that.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, did I say the Greenbelt Cinema? Actually, there's a rack there right by the GAC door.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But thanks for the suggestions. Personally, I agree. So let's talk about that. Are there other petitions or requests? Please.
Hi, I'm Michael Zeloff from 9J Laurel Hill Road. You've all seen this bag. This is called celandine. It's an invasive species that has really taken root and established itself in Greenbelt. I'm not sure about Greenbelt West or East. I'm talking primarily about central parts of Greenbelt. There are different levels. For primarily, my concern living on, or my experience living on Laurel Hill Road is walking down through the woodlands into Stream Valley Park and then down across Crescent and up in, it's called Parcel X, which is above the woodlands there. It's 5 court Laurel Hill. There's a large concentration of celandine growing, not only in common ground, but in the backyards that face toward that, taking over some of those backyards. It can spread very, very rapidly, and it sort of monopolizes in areas, I think it likes a lot of water, and in areas where it gets plentiful water, it just takes over. There's a little bit of good news here. Number one, it's kind of a pretty flower. And number two, it's only here for 3-4 months a year from sometime like early mid-March until sometime in May. Then it completely disappears. The plant, everything. Right now, it's finishing the bloom stage. The petals are starting to fall off. And the other complication here is the roots have tubers attached to them So like digging it up, it requires great care not to separate the tubers from the roots because the tubers are one way the species spreads. Now, the question for me, anyway, and I'm a concerned citizen. I'm in touch with the Woodlands Committee and also with Kevin. He's been really great. We all got together last week and walked down through there and looked at this. You know, the question is how to respond to it. One thing is just, it's a flower, it's a plant, let it grow. I mean, but that's taking the risk that this stuff could get out of control. That's my way. It's, you know, it's a big, very controversial, but I'm also advocating that we not rule out herbicides in certain parts where it's just grown too widespread. There's too much of it already to try to dig it out. And what I mean when I say herbicides, I mean looking into it to see what's available. I mean, obviously we would want to use the mildest, if we ever used it, the mildest, least destructive herbicide and the one with the shortest lifespan. But my argument is something we should at least look at for certain very select areas, like the one I just mentioned to you. I would like to invite any of you on council, and I'm going to do the same thing with GHI board, because that land in the upper areas is GHI land, it's not city land. Once you get down to the footbridge, the wide bridge, and get into the Firefly Sanctuary, then it's city property. And that stream that runs down through there has been overtaken by celandine, pretty much straight down until it becomes concrete. It's on the banks, it's coming up onto the higher ground. We'll be, a few of us will be in the Firefly Sanctuary. There's only, you know, there may be a dozen scattered plants of celandine right now. We've gotten permission from Kevin to dig those out. You know, it's the first one I've dug out, the one I've been showing everybody. I thought, are you passing that around? Oh, it's right here. Okay. So you know what I'm talking about. So I just want to bring this to, but yeah, like I say, the celandine is only here until mid or late May. But right now in the next week or so would be if any of you had an hour or less, we could take a walk from up there in 5 Court, Laurel Hill, just straight down as far as we want to go, and we could show you what we're talking about. So you have.
Sounds like a plan. Mr. Roberts, you had something to add?
Does this stuff have any good points? Like, since it's a flower, doesn't it provide some food for our pollinators and stuff like that?
That's good. Kevin, I've never seen like bees or anything landing on that.
And what's going to happen if we're spraying herbicide right near the Firefly Sanctuary? That doesn't seem to be really a great idea.
I mean, I think there are. I'm over time. Can I finish up with a few?
Yeah, if you could finish up quickly.
Yeah,
that'd be
yeah.
great.
There are a few jurisdictions here that are fighting celandine rather than just like one may be Rock Creek Park. We need to find out what other people are doing to fight the celandine, and also why people think you can just let it grow. We need to look at all points of view there, and I'll end it at that. But the piece of paper you have is an update, and it's got my name and address at the bottom for a possible walk through the park.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So thanks for bringing that to our attention. Let me point out that during petitions and requests, all petitions are actually logged by the city clerk. She keeps a journal with the name of the person making the petition and the subject matter, and staff is charged with providing a response in a reasonable amount of time if one is available. Some petitions, like the last one, it's not something that can be quickly acted on. It needs to be thought through. Others can be answered a little bit more quickly, but petitions and requests is not question and answer time, but it's a chance for people to ask a question. Mr. Orleans.
Orleans residents. At the last regular meeting, I generally spoke to a number of outstanding petitions requests I've made previously and wanting a better response that I had received, if I had received any response at all. But I specifically spoke at the last regular meeting to the question of a request I've been making since September, October, November of last year, when it was revealed that council meeting in closed session had determined there should be an interim bonus for the a bonus for the then interim city manager. And I had been given a response at one point in writing. It was unsatisfactory. I had continued to raise it. And at the last regular meeting, I received a response which I thought was read from a prepared statement by the city manager and presumably Mr. Deloach. But it turns out it was extemporized. So I've spoken with the city manager, and I'm confident that when he has the opportunity, he'll put it to paper. I was unsatisfied with the response I heard at the last regular meeting, but I very much look forward to reading it in writing once it's been done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We've got a rather full agenda tonight, so the next item on here is actually the consent agenda. If there are no modifications to the consent agenda, can I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That measure, the agenda, passes. The consent agenda. That'll bring us to the agenda itself. Are there any modifications to the agenda? Yes, Mayor Protem.
I would like to add an item to discuss a letter to the governor related to the maglev.
Okay. That would be
I don't
item
think
number 29.
You can go at the end. I don't think it'll take very long.
No, it's at the end. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I have my hand up.
I know, we were just voting on the one motion there.
They don't usually
Mr.
do
Roberts,
that.
please go ahead.
Usually vote on the whole thing. I would like to request that we remove item 17 from the agenda and instead schedule a executive session to discuss some of the things we learned at the last meeting about that issue.
Is there a second?
I would second that.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
I guess we better do a roll call vote.
Niesel,
Yes.
Ms. McKinney,
Yes.
Ms. Pompey,
No.
Ms. Pope,
No.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Ms. Weaver,
No.
Mayor Jordan.
No.
Motion failed.
I'd like to modify item number 19, which is associated with the appointment of members to the Charter Review Task Force. I'm not ready to do that, but I would like to discuss the membership. So I'd like to change that to a discussion item. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, so would someone like to move that we adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. That's going to take us to the presentation section of the agenda, and I've got 4 proclamations to present. So a lot of things happened in the month of April, and the first proclamation is in honor of Telecommunications Workers Week. Since 1991, the second week of April has been designated as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week to recognize the importance of the role of communications personnel in police and safety departments. Chief Bowers is present to receive the proclamation, and I believe most of the communication team is here as well. So would you come up and I can read this proclamation to you? Welcome, welcome. So, whereas in 1994, the Congress and the President of the United States established the second week of April as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week to recognize the importance of the role of communications personnel in police and safety departments, and whereas these unseen first responders are invaluable in emergency situations and deserve special recognition for providing outstanding service to the officers in the department and the citizens and the residents in the community, and whereas the officers of the Greenbelt Police Department must rely on the communication specialists to provide timely and proper information and to give immediate and appropriate responses to the residents in the community, and whereas the communication specialists in the Police Department Communications Department unit must be ever alert and reliable to provide accurate information and dependable, efficient, and speedy support to the officers of the department, as well as a calm presence in emergency situations and sensitive manners in the needs of the residents in distress. And whereas the officers of the Greenbelt Police Department and the City Council would like to express our appreciation to Communications Supervisor Alicia Williams and to Communications Specialist Jessica Hull, Sarah Signac, Emily Salazar, Denaria Huff, and Flex Vargish for their invaluable service. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Emmett V. Jordan, by the authority vested in me by the citizens and the residents of the city of Greenbelt, declare the week of April 13th through 19th to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the city of Greenbelt, and do hereby issue this proclamation in honor of our Greenbelt communications staff for their invaluable contributions to the safety and well-being of our residents and visitors. So this is for you. Congratulations. Chief, I don't know if you'd like to come up and take a photograph. Why don't you face this way and step up? And the two of you can kind of hold this together if you like.
No, you need to be in there. Yeah, of course. You're part of
You
that.
can stand up. Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, I don't know if you'd like to say anything. Chief?
You know, they do a lot of talking for a living, so
Yes.
they value their moments of silence. But really, just thank you for recognizing the hard work that they do. Our communication staff is that first line of employee that anybody facing a crisis in the city is going to reach, and their calm, professional demeanor every time they pick up the telephone really leads to great outcomes for officers who respond to those calls. So we couldn't do the job that we do without every member of our department, and that includes our communication staff.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a very stressful job, and we so appreciate what you do. It makes all the difference in the response time and so many different things. So thank you. Please share our congratulations with the other members of the staff, the communication staff as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
I'm sure it's
Thank
quite
you.
difficult at times, so, yeah. Thank you very much.
So next up, we've got the Earth Day proclamation. And we've got several folks with us today to accept the proclamation. We've got Kevin Carpenter Driscoll, Carolyn Lambert Davis, and is there anyone else, park rangers, anyone else here? If you could come up. And here we go. Whereas Earth Day was first celebrated on April 22nd, 1970, with the goal of inspiring environmental awareness and encouraging the conservation, protection, and appreciation of our nation's natural resources. And whereas it is the responsibility of each of us to safeguard the environment by recognizing that all human life depends on the Earth and upon one another for our mutual existence, well-being, and development. And whereas Greenbelt supports the climate change initiative goals of the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments and the state of Maryland's Greenhouse Gas Reduction Initiative. And whereas Greenbelt takes many steps to protect and enhance our natural surroundings through a variety of positive actions, including community cleanup efforts, planting projects, refuge and recycling initiatives, and educational forums and workshops. And whereas Greenbelt is recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation, a Bee City USA by the Xerces Society, a Maryland Smart Energy Community, a Sustainable Maryland Certified Community, and Environmental Protection Agency Green Power Partner, and has pledged to continue increasing its recycle rate, expanding its fleet of alternative fuel vehicles, and promoting green buildings and complete street techniques, increasing energy efficiency and improving air quality and preserving its open spaces. And whereas the city established the Greenbelt Advisory Committee on Environmental Sustainability and a Green Team to study, investigate, and advise council on environmental issues impacting Greenbelt. And whereas Greenbelt proudly recognizes all who participate in Earth Day for their proactive dedication to shaping a better future. Now, therefore, I, Emmett V. Jordan, by the authority vested in me by the citizens and City Council of Greenbelt, do hereby issue this proclamation in honor of the 55th anniversary of Earth Day, and urge all of our residents to celebrate Earth Day by supporting and joining in efforts to protect our environment, to preserve the beauty, wonder, and diversity of our Earth's land, skies, and waters. So this is for you. This is for Cheers. Carolyn, come on up. Council, you want to stand up as well? Why don't you face this way? Yeah. Now we've got a lot of things going on Earth Day. So Kevin and Carolyn, can you give us a couple of the highlights of the activities on?
Yeah, there's a lot happening that day. So if people have time, 10 o'clock in the morning, City and the Department of Public Works is going to be working with Carolyn and the Cheers Earth Squad over at the Cheers Food Forest by Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center. We're going to be working on the riparian edge there by the food forest, removing the invasive species, and we'll be having some of our native species. A lot of them are going to be fruiting species as well to install. So I'll let Carolyn talk a little bit about Cheers and what it means with the food forest there, and I invite people to come out 10 a.m. Spring Hill Lake Rec Center for a good time. We'll have refreshments. We'll have a quick jaunt down to the Touch a Truck event that's going to be happening down there. So just so much happening that day. It's great.
There's a lot happening then. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, we're excited. First of all, thank you so much, City Council, Public Works. We've worked together for many, many years with Cheers. Our motto is make Earth Day every day. And with your help and your support and the collaboration with Public Works, we've been able to do that. And we have wonderful Greenbelt youth who are working very hard to be good stewards of the earth, minimizing their carbon footprints. So we have some children who are returning second year. We have one young man, Johnny's second year at University of Maryland. We have Babacar. I don't know if you remember Babacar.
Babacar, of course.
Yes.
Earth Squad alumni.
Oh my
He's
God.
17.
I'm getting
ready to-
old, that's for
so
sure.
we still keep in touch. And you're still playing in the dirt, Ms. Davis? Yes, we're still there. But just to say thank you. But tender loving care for the food forest. We meet a lot of people. There's an outdoor classroom there. Also, a lot of our GHI folks. You love our pawpaws. We're Pawpaw City. We call it Pawpaw Alley. So in August, please join us. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much. I was out there with Carolyn last week in the food forest, and so many of us remember working out there over the years, clearing the area out. When we first actually planted the food forest, which, God, that must have been about 10 years ago. So it'll be great to be outside. It's going to be a beautiful sunny day. It'll be warm, but not too hot. And there's just a lot of things going on. There's another project over at the French Immersion School as well. They'll be doing community cleanup at noon, I believe. So, Kevin, Carolyn, thank you for all you do.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, I have a proclamation declaring April as Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month in Greenbelt. And let's see, Ann Udeman, are you here? Or is someone from the rec department here? Why don't you come on up? Bree? Okay, come on up. Welcome. It's great to have you here. So, whereas the City of Greenbelt is guided by principles of inclusivity and its commitment to help improve the lives of all individuals in diverse communities, the communities that we serve here in Greenbelt. And whereas autism impacts people regardless of race, ethnicity, social, economic backgrounds, and whereas the conditions characterized with autism may challenge communication, social skills, and behavior, and individuals within the autism spectrum disorder, ASD community, present varying qualities, strengths, and challenges. And whereas in the month of April, we strive to promote autism awareness, inclusion, and acceptance, and the City of Greenbelt is committed to providing equitable access to services, events, and activities that support self-determination for all autistic individuals. And whereas the City of Greenbelt recognizes the importance of creating spaces that, beyond acceptance, provide opportunities for representation and celebration of all autism groups. And whereas the City of Greenbelt seeks to create a socially conscious community that values and celebrates the unique individuals within the ASD community, which celebrates all kinds of minds. Now, therefore, I, Emmett V. Jordan, by the authority vested in me by the residents and the City Council of Greenbelt, do hereby proclaim the month of April to be designated as Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month in Greenbelt to raise public awareness and highlighting the programs developed to support individuals with autism and their families. So I'd like to present this proclamation to you. Why don't you step up and get a photograph? Thank you so much. I know there's some special programs planned for Saturday. One of you, all three of you, would you like to talk a little bit about the programs?
Hello, thank you. I just want to thank the council for recognizing Greenbelt Recreation and practicing inclusivity and doing our best to train our staff and our peers in being in autism acceptance, especially during this month. So actually the 26th is a very busy day. Through the Autism Society of Maryland, we're doing a presentation at Greenbelt. I have some flyers here that you can hand out, one in English and one in Spanish. It'll be Saturday, April 26th at 1 p.m. at the Greenbelt Community Center. I do know that it's a busy day, and if you are interested in gathering information but you can't make it that day, I encourage you to reach out and email me, and I'm happy to pass on as much information, as much connection is presented on that day. And I do want to introduce two of our staff. We are having spring camp right now at Greenbelt Recreation. We have Madison and Taryn, and they're both inclusion support counselors. Madison works at Spring Hill Lake, and she's over here with us helping us out this spring. And Taryn came from the pool, and she's helping us with our ceramics as well as with our spring camp. And if there's any questions, I just wanted to introduce our team, and we are looking forward to the summer.
No, thank you. Thank you to the Recreation Department for putting these programs together and for doing the outreach. It's such a pervasive thing throughout the world, the United States, Maryland and Greenbelt, to heighten the awareness and to talk about it. It's very, very important. So is it necessary to pre-register for the event at 1 o'clock, or can you just drop in?
It's a drop-in event. Yeah.
That's for family, friends,
It's for
and supporters. It's for
in the
everybody.
community that's interested, or supporters, or anybody that just wants more information.
Ms. Pope.
If you have an electronic copy of your flyers and send it to me, then I'll be able to share it. We're on spring break, so I work at Spring Hill Lake Elementary, and I worked with many, many autistic students in my 5 years. But thank you so much. I think this is so important, what you're doing. It's great work, and I'm glad you're doing it. But if you want to share that flyer with me, then I'll be at least able to reach out, and we can share it with our parents.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'll leave some flyers over here as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, and good luck with the summer camp. Okay, and I've got one more, and it's Animal Control Appreciation Week, April 13th through 19th. So we've got some of our animal control personnel here, and I know Chief Rick Bow Wow Bowsers is also Bowers is also here. So.
Wow, Bowser. That was good. That could have been something I would have said.
Yeah, it is.
So whereas National Animal Care and Control Association has designated the second full week in April as Animal Care and Control Appreciation Week, and whereas animal control officers play a vital role in the community by enforcing animal control laws, protecting the public from diseases like rabies, and educating residents on the proper care of their pets, and whereas the animal control officers of the City of Greenbelt have managed various pet programs, including adoptions, lost and found services, as well as volunteer and foster initiatives, and whereas the animal control officers of the Greenbelt City, the City of Greenbelt have raised citizens' awareness about animal cruelty with the help of the Greenbelt Police Department. Now, therefore, I, Emmett V. Jordan, by the authority vested in me by the residents and City Council of Greenbelt, do hereby declare the week of April 13th through 19th, 2025 to be National Animal Care and Control Appreciation Week, to express the appreciation of the officers of the Greenbelt Police Department, the City Council, and the residents of this community to the animal control officers, particularly Patricia Philman, Carolyn Alvilas, and Isabel Scribner for their dependable and exceptional service during the past year. Congratulations. I'd like to present this to you. Council, do you want to stand up?
Bowser? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I don't know if you'd like to say anything about the shelter or any new initiatives, if the chief, but you
I'll
should
have
go
Patricia
to.
join me. So one of the things that we've been really focused on right now is improving the quality of the current facility. And Patricia and her team have done a great job in conjunction with Public Works to identify areas that the facility needed structural repair and then kind of functional repair inside. So right now the facility is being repainted. The subfloors have been replaced. The facility is being repainted. Once the painting is finished, the new flooring will go into the facility, and then everything will be put back where it kind of came from. Some improvements will be made to the interior of the facility so that we can get the building reopened again as soon as possible. We're hoping to be able to reopen the building by the end of the month. That's what Public Works has kind of got our timeline on. So that'll be great for us. There's new HVAC. There'll be new appliances inside the unit there and some nice new spaces for some animals. We've collected a lot of different items to go with inside the cat rooms and the dog space. So we're really looking forward to reopening it. We're at full max staff right now, so that's really a good thing for us. And they've been generally proactively out taking calls for service. You can see that reflected in the weekly report, taking calls for service, really trying to follow up and provide, kind of 360 coverage for all of the animals in town and the residents. Tricia, would you like to add anything?
Just that we did recently also apply for a grant for the Department of Agriculture for the feral cat-focused TNR program. So hopefully we'll get some money from them for the year of 2026, and we can start working on the community cat.
Okay, thank you so much. Councilmember Pope.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you for all you do, because you are very important. The Animal Control Division is very important to our residents in our city. Unfortunately, we do have people, I know that there was just a cruelty case that came to your attention, and I want to thank you for removing this dog, despite what other ideas I may have about the person that, should be held responsible for these terrible actions. But thank you, because if we're not here for them, who will speak for these poor animals, right? And it was really, really sad case. The dog's going to be fine. So I just saw a little video of him at the Prince George's County shelter. But it's going to take a little while for him to recover. But thank you for your service. Thank you for taking care of our animals. And I'm looking forward to see the upgraded or renovated shelter soon. Unfortunately, we did not get a new shelter due to budget reasons. But one of these days, we're going to hopefully make it a little bit bigger, larger, and, so we can keep up with the demand, because there's also a lot of demand, because we, of course, are a no-kill shelter, And that's very attractive, not just to Greenbelt residents, but it's also attractive to other people. But I'm always grateful if they at least bring them to the shelter. You know, if you don't want your animal anymore, or you can't take care of them for whatever reason, just bring the animal to the shelter. You know, I think that's very important. So thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. It's good to hear that the progress is being made in rehabilitating parts of the shelter. It's something that council has been aware of the need for a little while, and we're able to kind of pull together some money from the American Rescue Plan and some other sources. So it's good that that's happening. So, thank you for all you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Yeah.
Oh, and just to, I have 2 new residents in my house too.
Congratulations.
Oh, yes. My husband decided that now he's retired, we needed to add to our dogs. So now we have 2 more dogs. So now we have 3 dogs. Yes. But you know what? I'm going on a trip on Wednesday, and I'm going to be gone for 10 days. I'm like, good job. I said, good luck. They're all cute, but I just added 2 more rescues to my family. Yes.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anything else? Just one more thing. I just want to, on behalf of council, I'd like to wish those in the Jewish community a happy Passover, and may the season bring freedom and renewal to you and your family. So that's going to bring us to item number 11. I'm sorry, that's going to bring us to item number 9, which is administrative reports.
I know. It's up there.
Council, City Manager Samaron, do you have some good words for us?
I do. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Good evening, residents. I'll start off with a group of projects, EV projects. We have several of them throughout the city that we're working on. We met with PEPCO. Things are looking good for the community center library parking lot. We've identified the transformer and the path we need to take. So now we're entering into the formal engineering phase with PEPCO to get that new line. Buddy Attic Park, we're still in the planning phase. We're identifying what's the best locations for Buddy Attic. An announcement on the EV charging stations. If you're using the stations at Trom Hill Park and the Spring Hill Lake, there's a new platform that the EV stations are on. The Shell Recharge app is ending. That platform is now going over to a platform called Switch. It's still an EV charging platform. Functions very similar to the PEPCO Shell Recharge app. I understand that the move is to improve the reliability of the charging stations. So hopefully that will be the case. We will monitor those stations to make sure that they are working. The pool project started last week. Things are going well with the preparation of the project. We looks like we'll be on schedule. Field work at Trom Hills Park has also commenced, so that's going well. You heard from our recreations team. Spring camp has kicked off, where we have full set of camps. And finally, we are looking at making some improvements to our cell phones. We are looking at making a transition from Verizon to T-Mobile. Bring that up because you're all on Verizon. As you heard from some residents, Verizon's service can be a challenge within the city. T-Mobile, we're getting better response from our T-Mobile, particularly the public works. Our entire public works crew is on T-Mobile. So we're looking to change the admin phones over to T-Mobile to get better service and better pricing.
Makes sense. There's definitely some dead spots in Greenbelt, old Greenbelt particularly.
Mobile 2 on my personal phone, and I've been very happy the past few years.
So we'll be reaching out to council on when council cell phones will be moved over. And I'll take any questions you may have on the report.
With regard to the pool, I'm just wondering, I know you don't really control the weather, although you might like to, but it's just not possible. So what's the time frame for getting the outdoor pool open?
We continue to press the Department of Health for opening on May 5th. So we have not received clearance to open that. It's still a little chilly on May 5th, but we're hoping to open early.
Okay, so that's with the county.
Correct.
Yeah. I think a council member was saying the wading pool there next on the deck outdoors, it's not functional, so...
Saying that last time.
Yeah.
Yes, Councilmember Pope, we're looking into options what to do with that. In the past or previously, that section of the grounds was looked at as the site for the splash pad. We received pricing for the splash pad. It's over $1 million. It's difficult to get that funding. But I understand the concerns from council and the public that it's not being used, and when we get a heavy rain, we have water that pools. So I'll get with the team to have some intermediate solution of how we can make it look a little more appealing instead of just having a
And the fencing
closed
as
off.
well is very bad shape. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, a lot of work going on over there, so appreciate the focus and the attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mayor.
I was just over at the gym yesterday, and I took some pictures because they had dug up the entire, the deck on the back. So it looks pretty serious. I mean, it was pretty interesting. It's very quiet.
Yes, the work, it's the scaffolding and just the tile work right now, because we're still waiting on these final permits to come through to get into the more serious demoing.
Yeah.
So now it's all preparation. The flooring has been removed, and the scaffolding for the work has been installed.
Okay, and just one final question. I don't know, so if someone comes and they want to pause their membership in the Aquatic and Fitness Center is still good. There's no cutoff for doing that. They can do that at any time over the next couple of months.
Correct, and there are several ways they can do that. The subscribers or customers were sent an email. For those that we have emails in our database, emails were sent with instructions how to pause their membership. Folks can also call into the Aquatic and Fitness Center, or they can visit the location in person to request a pause on their membership.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you so much. Any other questions or thoughts that need to be shared? Okay. I'm looking at the folks who are in the room, and I'm thinking maybe we should special order the discussion on item number 17 to the next item on the agenda. Council, what do you think?
I was
I would
thinking the
prefer to
same.
move through the legislation because the last time the legislation got pushed to the very end, and I think we want as many residents as possible here and listening while we're going through legislative items, and people tend to drop off as the meeting goes on. So I would prefer to go through our legislative agenda first.
Okay, well, is that council's will? Okay. Okay, well, let's, item number 11 is an ordinance to amend Chapter 16 of the City of Greenbelt Code to codify General Order 675. This is for second reading and adoption. At the request of council, this ordinance formally codifies the City of Greenbelt's existing policy concerning the role of municipal employees, including the police department, in enforcing federal civil immigration laws. The ordinance amends Chapter 16 of the City Code by adding sections 16-5 through 16-9 and revising the chapter title to reflect the inclusion of public safety policies. Ms. Pompey, you had introduced this ordinance for first reading at the March 24th regular meeting. So would you like to introduce this resolution into a second reading and adoption?
I would. I would like to introduce the ordinance for second reading to formally codify the City of Greenbelt's existing policy concerning the role of municipal employees, including the police department, in enforcing federal civil immigration laws. The ordinance amends Chapter 16 of the City Code by adding sections 16-5 through 16-9 and revising the chapter title to reflect the inclusion of public safety policies.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
So we've got some discussion. We've received several emails. I don't see anybody in the chat, but we can read some of these letters in from the email. I think the important thing to note, important thing for me is the practices, the general order has been in place for a while. We talked about it quite a bit and made the decision to modify the general orders. So this action tonight is actually bringing that over from a practice into something that is codified into the charter. So I was talking to the city manager about this today with Mayor Pro Tem, and he was saying that this is not really going to change the practices that have been in place for quite some time. So I don't know if other members of council would like to speak. We can kind of go through some of the emails that are, I don't see anybody in the chat. So,
We have one hand raised, but if we wanted, I don't know if council wants to comment first.
Let council comment first.
Oh, well, like the mayor said, this is something we've already had in place, so there is nothing new or no. Correct? So, yeah, this is just more or less to formalize it, but we've already been following that order the way it's written.
okay, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this is just, instead of having it in the general orders, it will now be an ordinance, and I think that's important in these times to make sure that we're ensuring that these rules that we want our police officers to follow are followed, and I don't think we have any doubt that they will, but this also gives them a little bit more cover of pointing to this ordinance, and they can now say it is the will of the city council, we hope, if it passes in a few minutes, that this is how we want them to act in doing their duties.
Very good. Other comments? I think when we were talking about this, when we updated the general orders, that took about four or five work sessions to do. There's a lot of discussion back and forth. And one thing, I think, Mr. Summerlin, you quoted me as saying the only way this is ever going to change is if the city manager decides to change it, because the city manager is the chief public safety officer in the city of Greenbelt.
That's correct, and I think the quote went on to say that if the city manager changed it without council's consent, that
be looking for a new city manager. I did say that. Okay, well, let's read through some of these emails. Do you want to? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, please go ahead. There's just nothing wrong with taking emails first, but please, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. My name is Frankie Santos Fritz. I live at 23 Ridge Road. And as I'm sure everyone does, I have a lot on my mind today, but I'm thinking of three men and their families specifically today. Mahmoud Khalil, Mohan Madawi, and our neighbor in Beltsville, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Mahmoud Khalil is a Palestinian man born in a Syrian refugee camp, a former employee of the British Embassy, a student at Columbia University, married to a pregnant wife who was a U.S. citizen, and he was a green card holder, disappeared by the administration solely and explicitly for the exercise of free speech in defense of his people. Mohan Madawi is another student persecuted for speech, abducted in Vermont by masked plainclothes individuals claiming to be immigration enforcement while he was literally on his way to finalize his own naturalization as an American citizen. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, our neighbor in Beltsville, is a union sheet metal apprentice, a member of CASA, a husband and a father of American citizens. He's being held without charges in a notorious prison for supposed suspects of terrorism. Senator Chris Van Hollen has spoken up about Kilmar's case and said he will fly to El Salvador this week to discuss his release. All of these men had legal status in the United States. None of them have been charged with any criminal activity in any country. Yet they are the highest profile targets of the administration trying to utilize wartime and McCarthyite statutes to disappear our neighbors and your constituents. This is to say nothing of the hundreds of thousands of Afghans, Haitians, Venezuelans, Cubans, Nicaraguans who have had their legal status unilaterally revoked by the current administration, forcing them to choose between deportation to war and chaos in their previous homes, or trying to stay here and continue life in the shadows, fearing detention and family separation at any moment. Does it benefit the city government to be associated with these violent and vindictive policies? Does it make us any safer to drive our neighbors away from economic opportunity engagement with our civic life? In my day job, I work in public safety policy and local government, and I can definitely say that the federal policies are doing nothing to make our communities safer and more prosperous, but you have a chance to codify something that we know is working here in Greenbelt already. American history and the history of the world are rife with examples of compliance and resistance. That is a clear choice, and to be clear, to quote the great historian Howard Zinn, you can't be neutral on a moving train. Local and state governments have been key supporters and key opponents in every federal overreach, and tonight Greenbelt has a choice on how we will weigh in. I am proud to live in a city that is supportive of the hard conversations around reparations, but that conversation cannot advance if we are complicit in inflicting harm on our black and brown neighbors and neighbors in our immigrant community. The war on drugs, which we know was a war on substance users in communities across North and South America, was de-escalated by local governments who refused to expend even more resources on mass incarceration and over-policing by moving towards decriminalization and legalization. Prohibition of alcohol lost momentum when states refocused enforcement on public safety measures rather than endless punitive measures on an activity few would criminalize today. It was a conservative Republican governor, Ralph Carr of Colorado, who used his platform to speak out against the internment of American citizens of Japanese descent during World War II, a terrifying precedent in case law that still has never been overturned. The abolition of slavery would not have occurred without the massive resistance across society via the Underground Railroad, including by Harriet Tubman, who we now recognize and honor as a Brigadier General of the Maryland National Guard. This moment is shaking our way of life to the core, and Greenbelt needs leaders who are ready for this moment ahead. I'm not asking you to fly to El Salvador tomorrow, but I am asking you to make a statement in law today that Greenbelt will continue to expand the rights and inclusion of all of our residents. Thank you for your time and your consideration of my testimony.
Well, thank you so much. One thing that I want to note is for public comment during the meeting, the time limit is 3 minutes and not 5 minutes. So petitions and requests, it's 5 minutes. So we've got a number of other emails. Is there anybody else online?
We have one hand raised online. Ms. Davis.
Ms. Davis? Let's go ahead and promote Ms. Davis. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. Jay Davis, Greenbelt East. First of all, I'm very happy to see that the City Council hopefully tonight will vote in favor of this ordinance. If you remember, I did raise a concern several months ago when our police department signed an agreement or went into an agreement with the U.S. Marshal's Office, and I was hoping that we would never be put in a situation where we would be forced or our officers would be forced to do things that our constituents do not want us to do. First, I have a question about Section 16-16 2C. Why does Greenbelt need to be able to look at passports?
Yes, Mr. Summerall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The packet that you're looking at, Ms. J, is probably the one with a draft document. We have corrected that mistake. We apologize for the mistake. We updated the packet that was posted online. That reference has been deleted in the updated ordinance. That ordinance that is the corrected version was what was introduced at the first hearing. So nothing has changed on the document from the first hearing. Ms. Anderson, did I miss anything in my remarks? Okay.
Okay, anything else, Ms. Davis?
Yes, I do, and I wish to get a little bit more time since the answer took up some of my time. I do have some scenarios for the chief or for the city manager, just to see what would happen in certain cases. One would be, let's say that a group of ICE agents show up and they do not have a warrant. Does our police officers have to obey their demands?
Hypotheticals are challenging. The chief is making his way up. Chief, do you want to weigh in?
So, to be clear, a federal entity can't order a local police officer to do anything, right? That order can only come from myself or some member of command that they have to take action, and that order has to be lawful, right? And so, part of being lawful is it has to be applicable to state law, city code, and so no federal entity could force one of our officers to do something that was a violation of our policy or a violation of city code or a violation of state law, right? So in addition to the city code, the state also prohibits police officers in the state of Maryland from enforcing civil immigration issues.
Okay, so let's say the U.S. Marshal's Office comes in, or ICE, and they do have a warrant, a criminal warrant for a violent crime, and that they ask the city police to assist. What happens then?
If it's a criminal warrant issued by a judge, it is something we would assist with, but it has to be a criminal warrant, not an administrative warrant. There's a difference. An administrative warrant is signed by an ICE agent. A criminal warrant is signed by a judge. So that is the difference in the two.
Thank you. And finally, Jay?
No, that's it. Those are my scenarios, and I appreciate your answering them. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Makes me feel a little bit better. Thank you.
Okay. So there are several emails. I'll read one of them from Julia Snyder. Dear Mayor and Council, as a lifelong Greenbelt resident, I feel very strongly that you all vote to formalize and codify existing Greenbelt Police Department policy around immigration enforcement by amending the city code. This is part of our values as a welcoming community for all people. I hope you adopt the ordinance proposed by Councilmember Pompey into law quickly, swiftly, and unanimously. It's from Julia Snyder. Would someone like to read one of the other ones from Melissa or from John?
I can read Melissa's.
Okay, please.
Dear Council, Greenbelt Police Department needs to reflect safety and support for our full community given illegal and improper immigration enforcement by ICE being monitored by federal district court right here in Greenbelt. From breaking car windows of moms sitting with their kids at stoplights to sitting outside high schools waiting for school kids to emerge to arresting residents who have official court orders allowing them to remain here, ICE's actions are so far outside of normal, moral, and ethical operations in Maryland right now. We don't need to play any part in terrorizing our communities through any kind of formal partnerships with them. They should be able to withstand due diligence and get judicial warrants for their actions based on real evidence instead of these sham administrative warrants. Please adopt the ordinance proposed by Councilmember Pompey into law tonight. Thank you, Melissa Ann Ehrenreich.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to read the one from John?
Yeah, I think the last one is from John Appia Dufel. Dear Mayor and Council, thank you for considering the formalization and codification of existing Greenbelt Police Department policy around immigration enforcement into the Greenbelt Code. I hope and pray you will adopt the ordinance proposed by Councilmember Pompey into law swiftly, and I do hope it's a unanimous decision. This step has been needed for some time, but it's especially needed right now as we see loved ones in our very own Prince George's County, neighbors like Kilmar Abrego Garcia, disappeared by U.S. authorities in defiance of the law. May the city of Greenbelt never cooperate with monstrous acts such as these.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments online? I would propose that we go ahead and take a vote. Once again, this is not going to change the practice. We've had these general orders and the practice in place for quite some time. So this is an ordinance, Charter, so I think we need to do a roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
Ms. Niesel?
Yes.
Ms. McKinney?
Yes.
Ms. Pompey?
Yes.
Ms. Pope? Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, thank you. So that's going to bring us to item number 12. And this is an ordinance to amend the City of Greenbelt Code to authorize the operation of sign monitoring systems in school zones, establish associated fines and fees, and provide for the enforcement of these violations. This is for second reading and adoption. Chief Bowers is here with us to answer any questions. This ordinance amends Chapter 11 of the City Code to establish and authorize the operation of stop sign monitoring systems within designated school zones in the City of Greenbelt pursuant to Maryland House Bill 364, which was passed in 2024, which permits such systems in Prince George's County. The ordinance also sets forth the requirements for signage, public notice, civil enforcement procedures, and penalties. Ms. Pope, you introduced this ordinance for first reading on the 24th. Would you like to reintroduce it for second reading and possible adoption?
Sure would. I would like to introduce for second reading and adoption an ordinance to amend the City of Greenbelt Code to authorize the operation of stop sign monitoring systems within the corporate limits of the city and to provide for certain areas as school zones, fines for violations and certain fees in connection therewith, and to provide for certain violations, fines, fees, and other provisions pertaining to said systems.
Okay, is there a second? I'll second that. So a little discussion here. Basically, this item is enabling legislation for the city. It does not really spell out all of the specifics. In the next item on the agenda, we'll be proposing several school zones. And Chief Bowers, I don't think we've really determined, so we've not determined the exact location of these signs, and I don't believe we've really set out the specifics of the penalties or the fines. Or are they codified also? Is it $40?
The penalty is set forth by the state.
By the state.
In the transportation article, and it is $40. It's similar to a speed camera violation where it's assessed to the vehicle, not to the driver of the vehicle. So it acts like a parking citation that the liability rests with the owner of the vehicle.
Right. And of course, earlier this year, I guess it may have been last year, you talked about the study that was done with planning and code enforcement with the signs, just looking at the compliance. And it was startling. The compliance level of people coming to a full stop was very, very low. It was less than 5%, I believe. Like 95% of the people did not come to a full stop.
So across all of the study that we did, compliance is about 20% of people who actually come to a full and complete stop at the stop sign. So that's a pretty high rate of violations. About 80% of all motorists passing through our stop signs are not coming to a full and complete stop in compliance with the law. And then as we saw in some of the videos that we showed a couple months ago, near collisions with other vehicles and people, we really tried to focus on areas that were either close to the schools and walking distance to the schools so that it's pedestrian heavy. And those are really our focus for the study that we did. We continue to try to look at other intersections that may be within those school zones that are also very pedestrian heavy. Particularly, we're doing some data collection around Garden Way right now. And so we want to get the best idea of where these devices may be able to help bring people into compliance, because it's about changing driver behavior. And so this is just one methodology to go about doing that. Some of the things that will still be left to finish if you choose to enable the legislation today. There is the companion piece that goes with this to authorize the school zones. Then we'll need to follow up with some additional data collection. We would then have to select sites, right? And we'd have to come back in front of you with that site selection and have a public hearing, I believe, in accordance with the state code on those sites that we would then use. And then once we do all that, we would have to select a vendor, and we'd have to come back in front of you with a contract. And then the sites that we select would have to be presented to the county council through our county council member at a resolution to get them approved. So there's still a number of steps to go. This is sort of step 2 in the process to get the enabling legislation. And once we have the enabling legislation, we can move on to step 3. And like I say, there's still a number of steps in the process, so it's not something that's going to happen overnight. And we'll still come back in front of you multiple times to continue to present information to you. But we can't move forward any further unless we have the enabling legislation.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, one thing that I'd like to know, or I'm curious how these cameras and the studies that we've done so far, how they would actually interact with the new flashing stop signs that we've installed in a number of locations.
And that's a dynamic that we were discussing this morning with the planning director. And it is something I think that we'll have to go back and relook at that data. So when I say we need to collect new data, I mean that changes the dynamic of that intersection. And so we'll need to go back and examine, is that program working, right? So we can now collect some additional data and determine if the blinky stop signs are having the desired impact, right? So I think it's an opportunity for us to see if a different type of traffic calming measure is being effective. And if it is, then we'll go, okay, well, that's working here. Let's look at some other places, and maybe we do more blinky stop signs. Maybe we do a combination of different things. So it's all multiple pieces of sort of the same goal, which is affecting driver behavior to get compliance for safety. So that's what we really want to focus on. So when I say if you give us the enabling legislation, we're going to do some more data collection. We'll recollect at some of the locations we've already done, given the change in traffic control devices there. And then we'll be back in front of you again with that data and recommendations, whether we want to have some sites that we've selected we think would be appropriate, and we would present that information back to you.
Yeah, I concur with that approach. Yeah, I think the interaction of the flashing signs, it's about modifying behavior. It's also about compliance. And if you have some sites, if 80% of the people who are going through an intersection are not complying, it's one thing if that's the case and the intersection is dangerous where there are kids and pedestrians and cyclists. It's another thing if somebody rolls through a flashing stop sign and doesn't stop. They certainly deserve, in my opinion, probably do deserve a fine. So I think once we get past this step, I think some more research will be important. Mr. Roberts.
Personally, the people that are creeping through a stop sign at a mile an hour or something is not what I'm worried about. because we have way bigger problems than that. And all the camera stuff kind of scares me because it seems that the more cameras we have, the less actual enforcement we're getting. Because I go down Crescent Road all the time doing the speed limit. I was going out the other day on my motorcycle. It was raining. A car came up behind me, followed me down past, and waited until I got past the camera on Crescent, I was heading toward Kenilworth. And then they passed me up on the hill, going up. You know, once you're going past the church, there's a hill. So then they flew on by me. They couldn't see if there was a car coming down or not. And I've never seen any enforcement of those types of violations. So I'm going to vote for this because I want as much safety as we can get. But I'm afraid it's going to lead to the wrong kind of enforcement. We're going to be sending a whole bunch of tickets out to people that are doing a half a mile an hour through the stop sign, and the people that want to do 50 mile an hour down Crescent Road are just going to keep on doing it. You know, and they're passing people they pass you on the right, they pass you on the left. One day I had two people look like they were racing past me, one on the right and one on the left. So those are the things that I'm most worried about because they're the people that are going to kill somebody. And so, yeah, that's some of my thoughts about the issue.
You know, I think if Miss Ruby were here, she would probably say that enforcement is important, but also just the way that we design our streets, the infrastructure, traffic calming measures. There are a lot of different ways we can make it more difficult to speed or to slow people down. So I think sort of a holistic approach needs to be taken into consideration. This is the first step. So are there any new comments? Any other council members?
Probably yes, we're done.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say that, you know, it's more than an issue of people just slowly cruising through those stop signs, if anyone has ever seen it. And I'll just give one example that I saw. My son goes to Roosevelt, and I had, you know, there's parking on the side of Garden Way, parallel parking, and I had pulled over to let him out of the car so that he would then go up and cross Ridge to go to the continue along Garden Way to cross the footpath. I pulled over, he got out, and he walked up to the intersection, and then I pulled up to the intersection, and as he was walking through the intersection, a car just didn't stop at all and just went, and it was just feet from hitting him, and I had to slam on my horn to get that car to pay attention to my kid that was in the middle of the crosswalk. And he reports that that happens regularly, that he will be in the middle of a crosswalk and cars will just pull across, like on Southway. When he also crosses, when he walks along Ridge and he crosses Southway. And when he's crossing Southway, he says regularly he will be in the middle of the crosswalk and cars will just start pulling through while he's just standing right there. So it is a real problem, and it is a huge safety issue. We have a large volume of kids walking to Roosevelt. We have a large volume of people walking their dogs, a lot of people who are elderly, who do not have a quick pace, who cannot move. Like my son can move and get out of the way, but we have a lot of residents who cannot do that. And I really do hope that these cameras fulfill their purpose, which is not just to rack up fines, but it's to change behavior. So I'm really hopeful that this will change some behaviors in our city and make our city, which is, I think we pride ourselves on being pedestrian friendly here in Greenbelt Center, and I hope it will make it even more pedestrian friendly here. And I'm sure that Ms. Pope has seen things over at Spring Hill Lake Elementary as well, where there's a high volume of kids that are crossing the street in crosswalks.
Crosswalks, yeah, because people just either one stops and the other car won't stop, or goes around the other car. I mean, some crazy stuff. Lake Crest Drive down by the high rise when you go, you know, where you cross. Twice almost last week we got run over with the dogs in the crosswalk. I mean, not a good scenario. People's behavior is just, you know, unacceptable in these cases. Yeah. So anything that will make our streets safer and walkable. I mean, we are walkable, but you know, with caution, is a welcomed addition.
Right. Hey, let's go ahead and take a vote on this. One thing, you know, we had the work session with the State Highway. There are a lot of issues. So I really want to get a thank you letter out to them as soon as possible. One thing that didn't come up, they talked about flashing beacons. I think there should be a flashing beacon crosswalk right at Frankfurt going across 193 to Roosevelt High School. So I'd like to include that request in the thank you letter because I think that's a...
What are the locations again?
Frankfurt Drive.
Frankfurt?
Yeah. So
Isn't there a crosswalk?
there's a crosswalk, but there's not a flashing beacon like they were talking about.
But there's a crossing guard there.
Well, sometimes.
And I think there's a stoplight with a walk sign.
It's a stop sign, yeah. But
A
they're
stop light.
talking-
No, at Frankfurt, I think there's a stop
There's a
sign.
light, yes.
There's a light.
There is.
I think the flashing beacons are you use in place of a stoplight, not where there already is a stoplight.
No, they were talking about putting a
Because
couple
the
in down there
flashing
by
one
Rhode
is-
Island Avenue in College Park. They said they're
Right.
putting 2 in down there. So
Yeah, I think where
it's
there's
just
not a
suggestion.
stoplight.
So I think we need to do a roll call vote. Ms. Anderson?
Ms. Niesel?
Yes.
Ms. McKinney?
Yes.
Ms. Pompey?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts? Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay. Don't go anywhere, Chief.
Wasn't planning on it.
Item number 13 is a resolution to establish school zones on municipal roads in the city to implement and automate stop sign enforcement programs while the established school zones within. Let me read that again. It's a resolution to establish school zones on municipal roads in the city to implement automated stop sign enforcement programs within the established school zones. This is also for second reading and possible adoption. Per council's request, this resolution establishes official school zones on municipal roads within a 1/2 mile radius of 5 public schools in the city of Greenbelt. The designation of these school zones is a required step under Maryland law in order to implement the city's automated stop sign enforcement program pursuant to ordinance or charter 21-805.1 of the Transportation Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland. Automated stop sign monitoring systems may only operate within formally designated school zones. This resolution ensures compliance with that requirement and supports the city's broader efforts to enhance traffic safety in areas frequently used by students, families, and pedestrians. The resolution identifies the specific school zones and authorizes the installation of appropriate signage consistent with state regulations to mark the designated zones. Ms. Pompey, you would introduce this resolution for first hearing. Would you like to introduce it for second reading and possible adoption?
Yes, I introduce for second reading and possible adoption a resolution to establish school zones on municipal roads in the city to implement an automated stop sign enforcement programs within the established school zones.
Second.
Okay, so as the chief said, this and the city manager, this would, after passing this, if it passes, this is going to go to the state of Maryland. They'll have to approve the zones, and then it'll have to go to the county council after the city council and staff takes a real close look at exactly which intersections. these
So
would
this
be
will not
placed
need
at.
to, this particular piece of legislation, once passed by council, if passed by council, it does not need to go to the state.
Okay.
It would stay part of code is established school zones in the city.
Okay.
Once we select the locations we would like to implement cameras, that would then need to go to county council.
County council.
And our county council member by resolution will introduce that at one of their regular meetings. So, but like I say, we're still probably 3 steps away from there. So we'll need to first do some more data collection within the school zones, come back to you and present you that information, as well as identify a vendor, potentially use as a contractor for this program, and present you that information as well. So we'll have a couple of things for you in the next couple of weeks, months, to present back to you to complete this process, should you pass this piece of legislation tonight. Like I said earlier, this is step 2. We've got about 5 more to go. We'll get through the rest of them pretty quickly with this.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
Just a question. Is that half-mile radius, is that something that is required? Is that set by the state?
That is in the legislation, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So because I think, was it you, Ms. Pompey, was telling me that actually like the walking zone for a school is much, or maybe it was you, Ms. Pope, is much further than, but we can't set the school zone bigger than half a mile?
Yes, ma'am. In the legislation that enabled these cameras, the school zone radius is established.
Okay.
at a half mile around the school.
That's what I was afraid of. It'd be nice to be able, if kids are having to walk for much further than half a mile, it would be nice to be able to set it wider, but I guess that's something to consider for our legislative priorities at some point.
It is, and unfortunately, like I said, you mentioned that the school walk zones are larger than what the state considers to be a
School zone. Yeah, not entirely logical, but.
And one other note to this, should our schools change or schools be added, we could potentially come back with an amendment that says Spring Hill Lake has moved, or Dora Kennedy has moved, or there's some school property in the city and the county decides to build a new school or a new school opens somewhere, we'd be able to come back to you with an amendment if necessary to add that other location.
Yeah, with the half-mile radius, that the city is 5 miles around, so that covers a lot of ground. Arguably, someone could say that 3 of the zones are actually in Greenbelt West by the French Immersion School, by Spring Hill Lake, and by the middle school. But I think we're a little constrained by the state law.
We are, yes, sir.
Yeah, Member Tim.
And I think I asked this before, but when we talked about it, but I've forgotten the answer. There's no part within the municipal boundaries of Greenbelt is within half a mile of Magnolia, correct?
It could be, yes, but we did not include that in this initial draft because the school itself is not located within the city.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? Anybody online? If not, let's go ahead and take a vote. Ms. Anderson?
Ms. Niesel?
Yes.
Ms. McKinney?
Yes.
Ms. Pompey?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts? Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
At this point, should we consider specially ordering?
I'd like to do that. So I'd like to move that we special order item number 19.
Is it 19 or 17?
Item number 17, the City Employee Retirement Plan Manager discussion, to the next item on the agenda. I'd like to make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. No? Okay. It's 6-1. So, item number 17, City Employees Retirement Plan Manager is what the item is entitled. Included in Council's packet is the benchmarking report, the City of Greenbelt, on the 457B plan and the 401A plan for Council's consideration. City Manager Summerone, would you like to kind of cue this up with our HR Director, Mr. Martinez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a follow-up to Council's request asking for additional information and an updated presentation from NFP, who you've heard from before. Both Andrew and Ray have joined us today to go through the presentation. HR Director Dwayne Martinez is here as well. And yes, please come on up, Mr. Martinez. Would you like us to cover background timeline? Or?
Yeah, let's, if you give us a quick timeline, we want to, we're thankful for our friends from NFP to join us here. We've been working with them for more than a decade, I guess.
Correct. They are a broker with us for our health insurance and our prescription plan. And I'll let Mr. Martinez take over.
Yeah.
Good evening. Oh, yes. So we do have a presentation. This is working. Good evening. So we do have a presentation that NFP will actually discuss. So as far as the timeline, we did a RFP to do audit as normal audits as we RFP audit many of our different plans. Mission Square was one of the audits that we did propose. I would like to welcome Andrew to the front for the presentation. So this is Andrew from NFP.
Welcome, Andrew. It's nice of you to join us in person tonight.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
I think we've got the presentation queued up. So you've been working with the city for more than a decade, right, on the health plan.
Correct.
And so when did you first begin this process of compiling, aggregating the information?
Yeah, I would say probably about a year ago we were having conversations with the city, the HR director, to just discuss the opportunity to look at other providers and record keepers to do an RFP to make sure that the retirees and the current employees were getting the best proposals from record keepers and the best investments. within their retirement program.
Did you assist or provide a sort of a draft of the RFP at all?
Yes. So there was the RFP consisted, I think it's about 100 or so pages, with many different variations of questions on record keeping and administrative services.
So in preparing that draft or sharing that draft, that's a compilation, something, an example of an RFP that you've probably worked with a number of other clients with.
That's exactly correct. Yeah, the RFP that we do for record keeping benchmarking purposes is pretty much similar across the board for all of our clients when looking at record keeping, administrative, and custodial services.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and work through the presentation. You can...
Yeah, sure. So there's two plans, obviously the 457 and 401A. As you can see on this page, the current fee structure that employees and retirees are paying today. When we did the RFP and benchmarking, we did have conversations with Mission Square about their current fee proposal. They did come back with a couple of rebids. One, the initial was 10 basis points, which, as you can see, is about a 66% reduction in their current fee structure. Their final bid came in at 7 basis points. We did look at the leading record keepers in this space for city governments, municipalities, county governments, and state governments. Those record keepers are Nationwide, Voya, Corbridge, Empower, and Lincoln. And as you can see, the different record-keeping fee benchmarks that we got and bids that we did get from them, with Nationwide's final bid being 2 basis points, which equates to a 93% reduction in record-keeping fees that directly come out of retirees and current employee earnings.
Okay, and what about the 401A plan, or is there more?
Yep, so this is just some of the detail. The benchmarking, I just provided a summary on that last page, but if we go down a few pages, you will see the summary again for the 401A plan, which is going to look very similar because they're priced pretty much identically with the same population. Actually, if you go back up, I think, just scrolled right by it there. Yep, there we are. So again, a very similar set of statistical data. Again, current fees with Mission Square, 28 basis points. You can see the bids and then the winning bid by Nationwide at 2 basis points, which again is a 93% reduction in fees to retirees and current participants and employees.
Let me ask a question. So are these fees, are they dynamic or the negotiated, the final bid offer that was put forward, that's something that's going to be locked in for a number of years?
Yes, we can secure anywhere from 3 to 5 year contract with the winning record keeper, the bid. That's still in negotiation, but yes, we can secure a long-term contract for that fee.
That have an impact on the points? Would that lengthening the amount of time that it's locked in, would that perhaps influence the final bid?
No, not necessarily. No, actually, just from a standpoint of historical record-keeping fees, as obviously as plan assets grow, record-keeping fees tend to come down. So currently, when we did the record-keeping benchmarking, it was about a $70 million trust. Just as an example, if I fast forward 5 or 6 years when the trust would be maybe 110 million or 120 million, those record-keeping fees could come down even further after the contract would expire 3 to 5 years from today.
And one more quick question before we open things up. So if someone decides that all of our retirees have the option, if they want to stick with Mission Square, that's fine. They can certainly do that. So the bid that they provided, the city, would Mission Square be willing to adjust the fees to that level, or the fees sort of stuck where they are, the current Mission Square fee?
Yeah, so the nice part about this is the retirees have the wherewithal to have their assets managed with any custodian, whether that be Mission Square, Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard. That's the beauty of being in a retiree status. You can have assets managed at any custodian. The employee would directly work with Mission Square from a retiree status perspective to do the rollover from the 401A or 457 into an IRA with Mission Square. and those fees would be negotiated with the employee or the retiree with Mission Square separately.
So that would be a one-on-one negotiation?
Yes, it would basically, the fees would be set by Mission Square for each retiree, probably based on account balance would be my guess. I don't know the exact rollover rules with Mission Square, but we can provide more detail around that.
Council, questions, thoughts? Is there more to the presentation?
There are a few more pages. I believe if you go down to the investment side of the presentation, right, so this is just record keeping we're discussing. And as I mentioned, there's a obviously significant reduction in record keeping fees. Again, a few more pages, please, if you don't mind.
I guess
A couple more.
Please go
I have a question. I just want to make sure, because Nationwide's prices seem almost artificially low, just because they're far and beyond lower than everything else on there. I do want to just confirm that this is not some sort of introductory pricing. This is something that we can lock in even if the assets have changed from when we first did this request for bid at 70 million and
Correct.
now perhaps they're 20 million.
Right.
So I just wanted to make triple
Nope.
sure.
Yeah, I've been at NFP for 22 years, and when we do RFP and benchmarking, these prices are firm
Okay.
and can be locked in for, again, a 3 to 5 negotiated period.
Okay,
5 years,
thank you.
yes. You're welcome. Yes, so just on the investment side, right, so there are really two components to retirement plan fees and services. One is obviously the record keeping, right, which is run by Mission Square today. Then there's the investment management fees, which, as you can see here, the current weighted cost that employees pay for investment management is 0.5%. Again, with any record keeper, by the way, including Mission Square, to be fair, we can negotiate and implement the best investment managers at the lowest institutional cost. Currently, right now, you're using a version of those funds called retail share classes that includes a higher cost version of a mutual fund. In the proposed management fees for investments going forward, we will only use the lowest cost investment share class that we can afford ourselves in this retirement plan. So as you can see, we can save another 60% to the retirees and current employees in the plan. And I believe that's it. Yeah, this is just a data set of some of the investment manager sample recommendations that we would make that equate to that 60% reduction in fees to retirees and to current employees.
Right. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Let me ask a question. So just, again, focusing in on the retirees and having to roll, if they chose to keep their money with Mission Square or go to another broker, they'd have to roll over the 401 plan or they'd have to roll the plan over into an IRA?
Correct.
Is there a downside somehow to that rollover process?
I don't really see one. I mean, the only thing from a downside protection maybe is that the fees would go up at Mission Square, but we can get obviously some confirmation on that. My guess, again, doing this as long as I have, is that fees would remain identical to where they are today in the 457 and 401A plans. But again, we can 100% get confirmation on that.
Okay, thank you. So downside would be you might have to file a couple of extra forms.
Yes, and yes. So the other
Tax
downside
forms.
would be we'd have to fill out some paperwork with Mission Square. But my assumption is also in speaking with them that they would 100% be amenable to providing services around that paperwork and making sure that the retirees got what they needed to do those rollovers.
Right. And you'd mentioned you've been with NFP for quite some time.
Yes.
So you're working with a number of other municipalities in Maryland. I think I may have asked you this before.
Yeah, in Maryland, maybe I don't think at this moment we are, but around the country for sure. We have an entire practice around 457 and 401A, but we do also obviously a ton of not-for-profit and corporate work around 401K, 403B, 457, and 401A.
And that's with entities about the same size as Greenbelt, with 250, 300, 350 employees.
Yeah, we NFP have 300 billion under defined contribution plans across the country. That includes obviously 401A, 457, 401K, and 403B that we consult on for clients across the country.
Okay, and if something changed with Nationwide after 3 years, let's say the city decided to move our current employees to Nationwide, And if we locked in an agreement for 3 years or 5 years, would we be able to, is there a downside to switching, or is it difficult to, other than communicating with our employees and our retirees, is it challenging somehow to renegotiate in 3 or 5 years? Could we actually get a better rate with Nationwide in 3 years?
Yeah, no, actually, part of our job at NFP is when those contractual relationships come up for bid, that we rebid again to the market to make sure that we are getting retirees and current employees the best deal for their money.
What's the best practice for doing that?
Yeah, I mean, every 3 years, typically with our client base, we are going through that process, regardless if they're making a change in record keepers.
So arguably, the fact that we've been with Mission Square for such a long time may not have been the best practice.
Again, just speaking for our clientele and the way we do business, yeah, every 3 years is typically a best practice in the defined contribution space for record-keeping bids.
Thank you. Thank you. Council, questions, thoughts?
Mine are more for Dwayne, so if
Okay. Mr. Martinez? Thank you. You have a council member.
I mean, this is similar to Ms. Niesel's questions, but it's just the delta is just so wide. I mean, it just seems like such a wide delta. Is that, like, why are we seeing such a wide delta there? It just seems really surprising to me. And I say this as someone who, I have retirement accounts, but I don't closely monitor them because I'm many, many years from retirement. And it's best not to look at them these days. But anyway, so it just seems like that the fees are just, the delta is just so wide. And I'm wondering, how is that even possible?
Yeah, I mean, we do see this quite a bit with relationships where record keepers have not been bid or challenged on pricing for many, many years, right? And by the way, that goes with clients that have had Fidelity for 20 years, right? We've seen this in the marketplace quite a bit. So, I mean, again, our job at NFP as an independent consultant and fiduciary to corporate, not-for-profit, and municipality retirement plans is to 100% arm the organizations with data to support better decisions for their retirees and their current employees. So that delta that, looks obviously very large today, I could give you examples over the last 5 years of my career where the delta has been even larger, where organizations have not gone to bid for record keeping and administration and investment fees.
So basically, this is something that just can kind of happen if you don't bid out regularly. Your fees just either go up or maintain at one level. So a strategy for always lowering your fees is, like you're saying, to bid like every 3 years.
Yeah, that's right. And I would also just kind of comment that NFP is your advisor and broker for your health insurance, right? And I think my assumption is every single year that plan is going out to bid, right? So at NFP, our job on your insurance plans is to make sure you have the best, lowest cost insurance programs for the employees and retirees. It's the exact same thing we do for the defined contribution plans.
And could you say, I mean, you may have already said this, but how long had it been since we had bid out this retirement program?
I'd have to defer that back to, the council or it's.
The contract that we found is from 1994 and 1995, and it sounds like there was some agreement prior to that, but that's the contract we have in our archives.
And bidding something out doesn't also necessarily mean that you're moving companies. Like, you bid something out and you maybe get they lower their rates sometimes.
And Andrew can speak about this on the, Chief, do you want to check out who that may be?
Is that the door alarm?
I think that's what's made the negotiation process with our PPO plan so good. And Andrew, you could probably speak to this better than I can because we go out to market every year on the health insurance plan. And Andrew and Dwayne have been able to negotiate modest increase on it. So they usually come back with a high number, and Dwayne and Andrew go back to them and like, well, we went out to market. And do you want to add?
Yeah, and I would say you're 100% correct, council member. So when we do RFPs, that's not necessarily a reason for making a record-keeping change, right? There are a lot of times where we will take the fee concessions of the incumbent, but a lot of the kind of process around RFP isn't just price, right? It's services to retirees and employees, technology, websites, mobile apps, data security, right? All of those things that go into understanding kind of what record keeper would make the most sense for the organization and the fit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McKinney.
Just a question, and my apologies if you had said this before or in previous information. How does the bid change so much from the initial bid to the final bid?
Yeah, no, great question. So the difference between the nationwide first bid and then getting to the final bid was the utilization of a cash account that Nationwide has on their platform. So because that cash account is a proprietary investment option to Nationwide, they are able to lower the cost of record keeping across the board that dramatically. Just to give you an idea, right now you are using, I want to say, 70% Mission Square investment options with the Mission Square cash account equivalent of Nationwide. So when we do that negotiation, most record keepers, right, Mission Square, Empower, Fidelity, Voya, all the ones that we were doing through the RFP process, do have an investment management arm. So that investment management arm, when we're looking at their overall platform, we may look at doing due diligence on the cash account as an example. And if we include it in the plan, we're able to go back to the record keepers to further reduce record keeping costs. So that's why you see that delta. So there's a big delta right on the initial, and then there's a little bit of a smaller delta, but as a percentage, it's actually quite big, right, from 7 to 2. That's a big percentage, not a big basis point swing or percentage swing. So that's how that final bid came to light. That's a great question.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Before we go to Mr. Martinez, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm wondering, can I actually open the floor up to some of the individuals that are here in the room? If
Yeah,
you'd
that's
like
fine.
to-
I can ask.
Yeah. Yes, Ms. Grace.
Jai.
Yeah.
I think there were some other questions that came in via email, so I don't know if we'd be able to answer some of those.
Thank you very much. It's certainly an honor to be back before the mayor and city council. I spent many Monday nights here, so it feels like deja vu. I have more to say than I can say in 3 minutes, so I'm going to try to touch on what I think are the high points and follow up with you with a more detailed email. On the 19th of March, there was a work session on this subject. I asked 3 questions. I asked if the information that had originally been posted in the... Oh, thank you. If the information that had originally been posted in the February posting could be reposted because it had been taken down, and I was told yes. I asked if the consultant was being paid for their work, and I was told no. And I asked if the RFPs could be provided. That was the 19th of March, or I'm sorry, of February. On March 28th, I hadn't heard anything, and I sent an email to the council requesting that information again. And in response, I got an email from Mr. Martinez, who explained that the information that had been posted in February contained sensitive information and couldn't be posted. That there would be a report coming forward which would contain all the information and would explain everything. There was no news about the RFP. This past Tuesday, the council's agenda was posted, and the item posted in the agenda was City Employee Retirement Plan Manager. That's the name of the agenda item. There was nothing in there about possible action on the retirement plan. On April 11th at 7:03 p.m., oh, I'm sorry, there was one thing I forgot. At the work session on the 19th, the council said that there would be an outreach to all the retirees to inform them about this possible change. On Friday, April 11th at 7:03 p.m., an email was received which contained a report. There was nothing in that report that indicated that there was going to be action on this item this evening. That was not discovered until the agenda was posted later in the day, and you actually had to read through Mr. Martinez's memo to see that item. I see I've run out of time. I'm going to make two quick requests.
Council's will go ahead. Yes.
One is that the council postpone action on this item this evening until notification can be made to not only the retirees, but the employees. There are an equivalent number of retirees as there are employees in the Mission Square plan. And secondly, that the council extend to Mission Square the courtesy of having a proposal and a discussion with the council, as this discussion tonight seems to be a comparison between Mission Square and Nationwide. And it would seem that if Mission Square's fees, practices, etc., are being tested, that they should have the opportunity to respond. I thank you for the time. I appreciate your indulgence. And as I said, I will follow up with more details later.
Thank you. Other comments? Ms. Murray? No? Ms. Pope, I know there were a couple of emails. From Mr.
Yeah,
Sterling
and I
maybe-
answered, and I asked for staff maybe to go and answer those. So I just happened to see it this afternoon. So, but if you have it and you're aware of it, then if you have some answers already, then that would be appreciated.
We can invite Mr. Martinez. I know that you had actually responded to several of the emails that came in from retirees. You don't have to now, but would you feel comfortable in responding to some of the three emails that came in?
Are you referring to the 3 emails from the retirees?
Yes.
Yes. So specifically, as was just mentioned with the information, I provided an email on the 28th stating that once the information became available, I would send it out immediately, which was unfortunately Friday the 11th. And then also, per my email I mentioned, and I forwarded to council as well, to the retirees, that we will be talking about and discussing it in tonight's meeting. A few responses from retirees thanked me. Some asked about the were they able to stay with Mission Square, and I provided them that information as well. They asked about the current fees. I think in my initial email, I put the current fees that will be associated with the process as well. So that's in the email as well, forwarded to council, that I sent to Ms. Craze here. Additionally, as there's been several reach out to retirees and also active staff members in regards to this process. And that's pretty much.
Mr. Summerone, I'm wondering, with Ms. Craze's request, RFP process, I'm just wondering, generally, it's a staff function to evaluate an RFP and to make recommendations to council. Is that not correct?
Yes, in the case where we have a broker has market expertise that we draw from. So in this case, we have NFP advising us on the health insurance, the prescription plans. On energy, we have Open Energy Market as the broker for our energy contracts. With other energy contracts, we have Standard Solar, who is the operator for our farm. When we use a broker, we tap into that market expertise that they have that staff may not have, and then we use staff to evaluate the proposals. In this case, we did hear I participated in the final interviews with Nationwide, Lincoln, and Empower. I attended those interview sessions with those candidates. The broker and Dwayne, I believe, were involved in all the other conversations with all the bidders, which the list has been provided. So I participated in those final interviews with the 3 finalists. After we had interviews and we talked through the services, the financial planning, the financial advice, the platforms. We've got demos of the platforms that each vendor has, the customer support process, the language competencies. So we talk about what language the staff members of the advising team and the planning team has. So we went through a series of questions and demonstrations. And at the end of it, we discussed all the advantages that the final candidates had, not just the cost structure, but also the services and the platform that they offered, and Nationwide ended to be the best value for our employees and retirees.
Right. Please go ahead.
Just one question. So I noticed on the presentation that, so Mission Square did submit a bid, and they came in with they lowered their fees, and then it looked like they submitted a second time. Is that right?
Yes.
But how did that work? So they submitted a proposal, and then they submitted a second proposal. I'm just wondering how that worked. Was it because it wasn't competitive, and they were like, well, we'll do another one?
Yeah, we typically offer a courtesy to the incumbent for best and final.
Okay.
So, right, they initially submit a bid, and then we, kind of go to them a couple weeks after and say, hey, listen, this is kind of best and final. We just want to make sure you're sharpening your pencil, right, with this long relationship, and that's where that second bid came in.
So they did have an opportunity to both submit a bid and then submit a bid a second time. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, listen, we have clients all across every record keeper, right? We do not have a horse in this game, so to speak, right? Our job is on behalf of the retirees and the participants to get the best fee structure for their retirement accounts.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I had some questions for Mr. Martinez. What is the number of retirees compared to the number of current employees?
I can put a report and send that to council. I don't know right off the top of my head.
But is it in general, I think it was Ms. Craze, is it about equal, or are there more current employees than retarees, or the other way around?
Actually, there's more current employees. A lot of retirees who did come to the last meeting aren't a part of the Mission Square plan. So there's more active employees than retirees in that plan. I would say as far as funds, retirees hold the most funds within the plan, but it's more active staff members in those plans.
And that makes some sense, I suppose, if you've got younger staff members that don't have the same amount of funds towards retirement yet. And you did hold some meetings with the current employees, which is maybe not the most money, but the most individuals affected. And what was the general impression from those employees, of the current employees?
Yes, actually, Andrew and I hosted a meeting with the staff members, active staff. They were very excited. They asked a lot of good questions about the different plans, about how it's going to transfer from Mission Square to Nationwide. Overall, staff members are very happy. Honestly, I haven't seen any negative feedback about the transition with the plans or heard anything. I did have the meeting prior to having that work session, because the work session was specifically to just inform retirees about the plan and not actually make a decision. So it was more so for informational pieces saying, hey, this is what we went out and did, and this is what we're talking about. I can take accountability for not prior with the communication, the lack of communications with retirees. So I'm trying to work on fix that and make that correct. So my apologies to the retirees officially for not having that proper communication.
Well, and in reality, the agenda packet doesn't usually come out until late on Friday afternoon. That's for the Monday meeting. That's pretty common practice. Mm-hmm. And I guess my last thing is just, you can talk a little bit, because it sounds like one of the concerns was just not getting that current employees were not getting the customer service that they wanted from the current plan. And I think we heard quite a bit of a disparity between what we heard from some of the retirees at the work sessions compared to what current employees have experienced, which seems like much worse customer service. Could you just outline some of the challenges that we've experienced? Because I think that's kind of a big deal, because the retirees can choose to stay with Mission Square if they're happy with the service, but it really sounds like the current employees have not been very happy with the service they're getting.
Yes, so a lot of it, and I placed in the email, I actually think one of the employees is online. I actually wanted to speak to council in regards to an issue that just recently happened, not even 2 weeks ago, so I'm not sure if he's online right now.
Yes.
Okay. So if I may have Mr. Torres kind of speak about his situation.
Okay. Yeah, I do see Diquin Reno is online.
Well, I think this is the Sergeant Torres who's there.
Yes.
Yes, I'm here.
Good evening,
everybody.
Sergeant Torres. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I had a bad experience with Mission Square a couple weeks ago. My family had an emergency, and I needed to withdraw some of my funds from my 401. And I normally will go to their app and do the whole application like I did in the past. But this time they were refusing, even when I have more than the funds that I needed at that point in my 401. So I go ahead and call the customer service line. They were not able to help me. They kept me like for 45 minutes on the line. And when she came back, she said that she didn't know what was going on, that she had to go and call me back to more information, because she didn't know what was going on, even when me and her went over my application and didn't work either. So because my urgency, that was at the end of that week, I told her that I needed that done a little bit sooner, and they said they couldn't do anything. So I reached out to Mr. Martinez, who did a tremendous job. He summons me to his office. I came to his office, and he helped me. And if it wasn't for him and the help from him and his colleagues, I couldn't have done it. And Mr. Martinez talked to these people over the phone, encourages people to help me in this situation. And they put a lot of, not helping in the situation, to be a little bit more short in explaining the whole thing. But yeah, Mr. Martinez and his personnel did a tremendous job, and thanks to them, I can actually retrieve some funds from one of my accounts and put it on the other one, so I can actually get my. But it took us literally 3.5 hours, if I'm not mistaken, at that point, for me to actually get results. But we were asking for names, and so we can actually get more help from the upper level, and they were not providing it. It was very intense conversation with these people. Yes, that was my case.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that.
And then to add a little bit more clarity about his situation, so he is grandfathered in a retirement account. Based upon conversation, I couldn't get in contact with the account manager, Miss Washington. So I actually contacted the sales rep, who actually sent the bid after the bid has closed. Per conversation and communications with that team there, I escalated the situation, and per conversation from the guy Frank at Mission Square, the account dissolved. There was no notification to the staff member that hey, we no longer have this investment on the market, so his money was just sitting there. So when he tried to withdraw money from it, it said insufficient funds. There's no prior communication, lack of transparency from Mission Square, and I have the email and I forwarded it to the city manager because I got the city manager involved at that time. And there's also, based on the conversation, other individuals who are in that retirement account that dissolved. So that's a part of the lack of transparency that I'm afraid that may happen with other staff members, including retirees.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Let's see, we have another question, comment from Diquin Reno. Di, are you there?
I am here. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you, Council and Mayor and Council. I had just a few questions. One thing I did want to clarify is that right now, unless there was a mass exodus, as of our last meeting, there were 283 retirees in Mission Square and 281 active employees and 25 that had broke service before retiring. So they had money there, but they can't withdraw it. So I know it was said they didn't know what those numbers were, but unless there was a major change. That's what they were as of the last meeting. So I've just had a few questions. My first question is Nationwide is proposing 0.02. So NFP gets paid a percentage. Is it out of that 0.02 or is it in addition to that, what they get paid if the city switches to Nationwide?
Okay, NFP, is that, do you get paid based on a commission, or is it's a flat fee? Or is it commission?
Yeah, so our fee across any record-keeping partner that includes Mission Square would be 0.1%. So 0.1% is the fee that we charge, and there is a cap to that fee. So if the plan ever gets over $80 million or 80,000 in fee, we cap our fee.
And if
So
nothing,
that
nothing
would
at
be,
all
by the way,
happens-
that would be in addition to the 0.02, right? So our fee is on top of the 0.02 record-keeping fee.
Okay, so if there's no change at all, you would still get the same amount?
That's correct, yeah. Whether it's Mission Square, Voya, Empower, Nationwide, our fee is the same across all record keepers for the oversight, investment fiduciary duties that we do for the organization.
Ms. Quinn Rena, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, because I feel like that answer kind of jumped back and forth depending on the meeting, whether or not we switched. Thank you. So my other question goes to page 13. So I feel like there's a few things that are missing that doesn't provide full clarity. Like, for example, this is the plan transaction fee comparison chart on the very last page. So it has on there the annual plan fee and the passive directive that has just flat fee. So is there a reason why that flat fee isn't more clear as to exactly what it is that's being charged? And then also the self brokerage has TBD written in there. So that also was that not provided, or was that adjusted when the chart was made? And then the very last line seems to be something is cut off. The managed account fee says 0.5% on the first 100,000, and then it says 0.04 when someone could assume that maybe it gets lowered after 100,000. So can those things be clarified so that when you look at the chart, you can look at it clearly what one is offering specifically compared to Nationwide?
Yes, we'll get that updated, and you're correct that they get cut off. I will get especially as it relates to the managed accounts. They're both the same, by the way, on the record keepers. You're right, it does lower as assets go higher. So if you had $1 million as an example in a managed account, you pay less than somebody who had, let's say, $100,000 in the managed account. But I will update that for the organization and send that to the HR staff to disseminate out.
Okay, and the flat fee under Mission Square for the first two, is it in fact a flat fee?
You're talking about and again, I don't have the presentation up. Is there any way to pull that up, possibly, for that last page? I just don't see it in front of me.
I have it open if you'd like me to.
Are you talking about the transaction fees for things like loans or?
Correct. The plan
Yeah, those are
transaction
flat fees.
for the loan.
That's correct. Yeah, so if there is here we go. Thank you, Ray. Right, so, okay, so I see what you're saying for the plan administrative fee. Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, those. Okay, yeah, so these fees are not part of the overall planning fees that we showed you in the presentation deck, right? So the 0.02% for Nationwide or the rebid of 0.07 for Mission Square. Yeah, I'm sorry, these two flat fee items are not pertinent. It should read as it reads on the administrative side for Nationwide. It should say 0.07 for Mission Square on the rebid. So my apologies for that typo.
Andrew, from my conversation with Ray, the important piece here, or what we discussed, were those optional services. We have a lot of folks that take loans, and part of this section was to address what those additional services are and what those costs associated are.
You're talking about like the administrative fees that participants pay for loans and
Correct.
loan maintenance, withdrawal fees, those things?
Right, the loan origination, the annual loan balance, and then there were, the one item that came up was the domestic relations order processing form. There's a Mission Square charges, but Nationwide doesn't.
Correct.
Yeah. Ray, do you remember the discussion?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ray Reeves with NFP. What the city manager is alluding to is the transactional fees assessed to participants' account when they take certain transactions within the plans. And One of the things that he was particularly concerned about is perhaps participants in the plan, active employees in the plan, not being aware of the fees being assessed to their accounts when they do things like take a loan, and specifically the domestic relations order when someone is going through divorce proceedings where the account value is divvied up between the two parties, where, again, Mission Square charges a fee for that. Nationwide, as part of their service, is included in the 0.2 charge, 0.2 charge that they're proposing for the plan.
Thank you. Yeah.
One of the things
City
that
Manager.
particularly were a concern for us were those loan origination fees and the annual loan balance. We have individuals that have up to 5 loans from borrowing against their 401A. So those fees are added on to their accounts. The other piece that we were talking through were this self-directed brokerage. The Nationwide offers, like Mission Square, offer a self-directed brokerage. So you can open an account, and under Mission Square, I believe, is TD Trade, and under Nationwide is Charles Schwab. And there's a $50 setup fee, and then there's an annual $50 on the Mission Square side to maintain that account. That allows the employee that they could make their own purchases. Both plans offer that, and there's a different pricing structure for it. Did I miss anything on that?
No, that was correct.
Okay, Councilmember.
2 questions. Well, maybe a question and a comment. I guess the first question is, if a current retiree, is there a timeline for current retirees to make decisions on whether or not they would stay with Mission Square or choose to move to Nationwide? And if there is any timeline, is there any penalty or fees associated with that timeline?
Yeah, again, the beauty of being a retiree at any moment, any retiree starting at this very moment could transfer their account to any number of record keepers, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Vanguard, or Mission Square into their own IRA. So there's no timeline. It can be done at any time, day or night, through their mobile app website to transfer to a different custodian.
And then the comment was more probably for Mr. Salmarone. I think as part of just some better communication, when we're looking at the agenda, and if you look at other items that were in that section, it gives a little bit more detail on the actual agenda item itself. And so if public is reading that, I can see how there would be some confusion on whether or not council is taking action or whether or not it's a discussion or what is actually the action it needs to be taken. It just simply says that we're talking about the manager. So I guess I would request that for future topics, not just this one, that we make sure that there's greater clarity versus on just the title being there. There needs to be more description.
Thank you, Councilmember Kinney, and that's something that we have actively worked on since I joined the team, making that clarity about what's expected. So I appreciate the feedback.
So I do think that clarity is important. I'm hesitant to revisit council going through the RFP process. I feel like staff and our broker have done a pretty thorough job of looking into the different bids and actually providing an opportunity for potential vendors to make a last best bid as well. I don't know. I do feel like with the title, the elements that Ms. Craze pointed out with the title and the question of what action would be taken, I think that's a valid point. So I would be willing to defer this decision until the next council meeting, but I'm not really interested in revisiting. I think our broker has done a good job of reviewing and working with these potential vendors. Ms. Pope.
Yeah, I would agree with Mayor Jordan's statement, but I would be willing to wait until next council meeting. I also wanted to say that Ms. Daquin Reno wasn't quite finished, and she wanted to second Celia's request that the issue be tabled to allow extra discussion.
Trying to adhere to the time limits as best I can. So what is council, Mr. Roberts, please go ahead.
Well, I'm wondering why we have to be in a hurry to do this. I don't think we do, and I think we should honor the people who said, let's slow down and we want some more discussion. And I think Mission Square should be able to come back and have some more discussion, because I think this is an important issue for everybody, and we shouldn't be in a hurry to do this.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, Ms. Niesel, go ahead.
Ms. Niesel.
Thanks. Based on what we've heard so far, that the retirees could continue on with Mission Square if they so chose, and given the due diligence that our HR manager and city manager have both put into this, I would feel comfortable making a decision tonight.
And if I may, just on the timing, every month that waits, there's $30,000 of money that is not flowing into your retirees and your participants' pockets. So I would just mention that, because every month that goes by is a month that we are not, I would say, my opinion, not doing right by participants and retirees, because those dollars would go to Mission Square and not your employees and retirees.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, and I agree with Ms. Niesel. I think that we have enough information at this point. It seems both Nationwide and Mission Square have had a chance to come back with sort of counter bids. We have a lot of information. There are a few details here that we need to clarify, but I don't know what additional information we would get by waiting longer.
I don't think we would get any additional information, but just for the sake of transparency, and of course, I haven't made a motion. Any of you can make a motion.
Have three hands out in the
Yes, I know,
audience
Mr. Roberts, please.
that
Ms.
would
Pope?
like to
I mean, I just would like to, I mean, just so everyone gets their questions answered, I think, I understand, and I agree with some of my colleagues as well, that I think, it seems like there was a thorough process, and it has been discussed, and bids have come in. So I understand all that. So, and the option, of course, that you can stay, the retirees can stay with Mission if they choose to, which is basically what you want. But I also would just want to make sure that all the questions that some people have, that they're answered fully. And so yes, then maybe we're going to wait another month, but so be it.
No, I mean, listen, I would agree with you. When you're talking about people's money,
right?
Questions should be heard and answers should be given. But I just want to reiterate again that retirees have the ability to status quo stay where they are today at Mission Square. That does not have to change, right? So they do have the power to be at Mission Square where they are today with no changes. So really, we're more talking about just the general well-being of the current population if the retirees have that choice. And again, from our meeting with the current employees, I will say it was a rave review of positivity that I heard from that group. It was a great meeting, a lot of great questions, and they did generally seem excited. And I don't know, based off of your emails, if you did get any at all that were saying that wasn't a good idea based on the meetings that we had.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to speak before?
Well, I just would like to make a motion, and then we can entertain some more, because I think actually technically in some of our meetings, trainings, we should have had a motion on the floor to begin with before we discussed any of this, and we didn't do that. So I would like to move that we transition our 401A and 457B retirement plans from ICMA Mission Square to Nationwide.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Pompey is seconded. Okay, so I saw a couple of hands up. Please, Ms. Grace.
Thank you for indulging me again. The question about rolling over from Mission Square to the Mission Square IRA, that is an option, and there are many of us who are examining that. The guidance we were given by Mission Square is it has to happen before the contract is let, or the money will transition over to Nationwide. So there is some time sensitivity with this, which even if just a few weeks could be given, would give everybody an opportunity to make informed decisions about their retirement assets. Thank you.
Well, that seems reasonable. Can I make a friendly amendment that this
And just,
would...
but just to clarify on that, because I do agree, I think there should be ample timing to make decisions regarding rolling to an IRA. In order to transition a retirement program, it takes about 3 to 4 months, door to door, right? So this is not happening tomorrow. This is not happening in a couple weeks. And there will be ample legal notifications that have to go out 1 month prior to any assets moving from a record keeper. So if we started today, we would probably have a 4-month window to communicate and educate retirees on their choices to roll money to IRAs with Mission Square if they would like. So just wanted to make sure that timing was clarified.
Thank you. Thank you.
We vote on this tonight, they have no choice. They're stuck with the choice that you've created.
No, the retirees can stay where they are.
Yeah, so just again, really quickly, the retirees, as of right this moment, have a choice to go to any record keeper, custodian, including Mission Square, to roll over to their IRA. Right? So they can stay where they are today. In a month, they can still make that decision and move to Mission Square in their
That's
IRA.
not keeping the same plan that they have right now.
No, it would be keeping the same plan that they have now.
An IRA.
There's the IRA is an individual retirement account. A 401A and a 457 is an organizational plan sponsor retirement account. The underlying investments would be the same. And that's really all that matters, right, in any transition to an IRA, that somebody wants the same Mission Square plan that they have today with the same investment options, they will have the ability to get those through Mission Square.
Well, one concern that I have for Mr. Martinez and Mr. Salmarone is just making sure that our current employees have been well informed about this move. And I believe you had stated there would be additional outreach if we make this decision right now. They're the ones who would not have an option. So has there been adequate notice and feedback from our current employees?
Yeah, so as I reiterate, we did have a training session with all staff, and I did do a follow-up email to kind of check in, do a touch base to see if everyone was happy with the decision. No negative feedback, as Andrew mentioned. And then also there will be training sessions to educate staff that's in the next upcoming week, if we do to make this decision today, that will talk about how to roll over in different investment funds and plans that they can attend to for current staff.
So for the current staff, would they have to roll over their funding from Mission Square to Nationwide?
Yeah, for current staff, it's what's called a trust-to-trust transfer.
Trust transfer.
Right? So if you are with Mission Square and you had Mission Square Large Cap Growth Equity Fund, you would be moved over to Nationwide into a similar strategy called the Large Cap Growth Strategy Fund. Right? So the current employee would not have to do anything. Those assets just roll over automatically. And again, because the process is roughly 3 to 4 months, we will be doing a slew of education, training to make sure current employees understand how the trust-to-trust transfer happens and make sure we're answering all those questions from current staff. Again, to reiterate, during that 3 to 4 month process, we would also work with retirees on that communication. And again, legally, under the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, we have to give 30 days written notice before any record keeping or trust change is made, so employees and retirees can make the ample opportunity to do those rollovers if you're a retiree.
Right. And what happens if an employee decides not to roll over their Mission Square investments, but could they start from scratch with Nationwide and just leave their money in a self-managed IRA?
Yeah, actually, if you're a current employee, you're kind of moving with the group. Right, that's the kind of the whole process of that. I would equate it to kind of health insurance. Yeah. Right, if you're with Cigna today and you as an organization go to Blue Cross, an employee can't raise their hand and say, "Hey, I really like Cigna. I'd like to stay." Right, so it's kind of a similar, kind of apples to apples comparison on how trust to trust works with current employees.
Right, and I'm a little concerned about that story from Sergeant Torres. You think there are some other employees that maybe have investments in funds that are no longer there, so the money is sort of suspended and not gaining any interest and would be hard to transfer over?
Well, as of now, that was the only investment fund that was mentioned per the representative from Mission Square. So My big concern is that may happen in the future for future different funds. Specifically, that's a retirement health fund that was dissolved. So that's my concern. He's been with the city for over 15 years. So it'll mainly affect those individuals who's been grandfathered into that plan at this point.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take a vote.
Voting on.
Yes, I was proposing to transition the 401A and 457B retirement plans from ICMA Mission Square to Nationwide.
And there's a second, Ms. Pompey, you would second it? Okay. And I believe there is a provision, if a council member objected to the vote tonight, they could bring it up at the next council meeting.
I think only if it
Only
fails.
someone who is on the winning side can bring some back up.
That's what.
If you're on the losing side, you can't bring it up.
That's what I was alluding to. So let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, the motion does pass. Thank you. Wow. It's a big deal, changing retirement plans, especially for the retired employees. So I appreciate that. I actually talked to Mr. Summerone about that when it first came up, that it's not a simple thing. But I think it's for the best for our current employees and for the retirees who have the option. They can keep their money where it is and go to any other broker that is currently in business right now. So for NFP, I'd like to thank you for the due diligence that you put in. And we're relying on you through Mr. Martinez to make sure that our retirees are educated about their options and that we are working with our current employees to let them know what options they have as well. So thank you.
You were supposed to have a roll call vote on that.
Oh, I am so sorry. That's not a resolution or an ordinance?
It's not an ordinance.
It's not.
It's
So let's move back now to item number 14. 14. Item number 14 is a resolution to amend resolution number 2113 to modify the number of residents representing each area of the city for the Charter Review Task Force. And this would be a resolution, first reading, suspension of the rules, second reading, adoption. So, during the application period for the Charter Review Task Force, the city widely promoted the opportunity to encourage applicants to meet the demographic criteria outlined in the original resolution. However, we've not received applications from residents in each part of the city. So this task force really needs to begin its work in a timely manner. So we've got a resolution that would actually waive the requirement, which has been aspirational, in my opinion. It's a good thing to always try and do this, but just based on the interviews that we've had and the amount of time that we've been advertising to try and attract people to sign up for this task force, this resolution 2113 would actually remove that requirement and would allow council to go ahead and appoint people, to make appointments to the Charter Review Task Force. So later in the meeting, originally there was an agenda item that would have allowed us to go ahead and make the appointments tonight. I don't think we're ready for that, but I do think that in order for this to move ahead in a timely fashion, we need to continue to try and recruit folks. But if none come in, at the next council meeting, I'd like to be in a position where we can talk over the folks that have already applied and go ahead and make the appointments. Mayor Pro Tem?
I don't know that we need to be in that much of a rush, because I think we do need to we need to try to do some more concerted efforts. I think all of us need to try to do some more concerted efforts from east and west. I would be comfortable with doing this for first reading, but I would not want to do suspension of the rules and do second reading tonight. I'm willing to put it out on the table as first reading. I think then we could do a second reading on the meeting at 4/28. We can we can discuss appointments. I think that first week in May, and then and you know, in those, that gives us a few more weeks to try to recruit some folks from both East and West, because we still need representatives from both. And I think one more who's a co-op or business representative as well, if I recall correctly. And then I think we could be ready to hopefully make the appointments at the May 12th meeting. So I would not like to see this. I don't think there's any. It's a longer timeline than we had hoped for, but I don't think we need to rush as much as that. I would like to see us keep trying. After all, we just talked about how many events are coming up. Maybe we can talk to some people and try to talk to everybody we can at all of these events that are coming up in the next few weeks to see if we can recruit some more people. So I'd be open to doing it first reading, but I don't want to try to push it through tonight personally.
Okay, but I don't really feel like we are rushing things. The intention was to get this task force rolling by March, and we've been advertising for 3 months. And as far as continuing to intensively try and recruit individuals, nothing is stopping us from doing that. We can still certainly try very, very hard. Just think that based on the people that we've talked with, I think it's a pretty good knowledge of the city as a whole, and I wonder how different perspectives could really be on these charter questions. Councilmember Niesel.
Thank you. In light of the conversation that we had with Tribacy last week, I'd really been giving some thought as to where else we could communicate this, and I have to agree with their what they said, which was we shouldn't just be advertising in the Greenbelt News Review. We really do need to use our social networks and get out there. So just today I posted on my council Facebook page, which doesn't have that many followers, that we were looking for new places to advertise things like this. And I think if all of us on council are able to do that over the next month or so, hopefully we can get some new voices, because I would like to ensure that the next committee we put together is a representative group.
Councilmember McKinney.
Yes, I would agree. I think we need to do some more due diligence on how we communicate so that we can have as much representation as possible. Being a resident of Greenbelt West, we've talked about this before. The news review does not go to a lot of people in Greenbelt West, so we cannot say that we have adequately advertised in that area. I don't know if this was posted in the last Greenbelt Connector or not, because that literally goes to every household that has subscribed to it. So it is going in somebody's hand that is open. So I think there are, in addition to what Ms. Niesel is saying, as far as putting it in through our own social media networks, we can communicate to homeowners associations, we can communicate through, now we have spring camps, we have summer, spring camps have just started, and the Greenbelt Connector. And I think if we have some additional mediums beyond the news review, I think then we can adequately say that we have done our due diligence.
Yeah, Councilmember.
I would just also like to add, we have had some luck after we've done social media pushes for our regular committees. I think we've all noticed that, like, once the committee push goes out, like, we'll all of a sudden have like 10 people applying to be on committees. So maybe we could do that. We could do a social media and text push, but targeting, Greenbelt East and Greenbelt West, saying specifically, if you're Greenbelt East, Greenbelt West, we're looking for you, because that might make a difference to people if they are like, oh, they need people from my community specifically, because I know that sometimes people just in general think, well, somebody else is volunteering, somebody is doing it, and maybe hearing that we need you specifically could engage people who kind of maybe have thought about it in the past.
Very good. Well, I do urge my peers to use their networks and talk to people, because I've been doing that. Mr. Hartman.
I have a question for council. There are strategies we can try. Fortunately, the City Connector is being drafted now, and it goes out in 2-3 weeks. We expect it to be out. That extends the timeline, I think, a month and a half, 2 months. If council's okay with that, I think that works. In other adventures in my personal life, I've worked with groups that have done YouTube campaigns, Pandora campaigns, and do it all at once. It's a paid advertisement platform. But launching a campaign on Google, YouTube, and Pandora at the same time can really do a mass market outreach. I think Facebook, I'll be the first one to say it, but our emails, we have 19,000 people with over 50% open rate. That's great. It's great metrics to have. Our social media presence has a lot of opportunity to grow, a lot of opportunity. And so our social media efforts are not as impactful as our email, and we've advertised an email. So maybe trying something new, a Pandora, a YouTube, maybe even Instagram, reaching folks that are on those devices. So, but that does require us to do something different than we do now, which is paid campaigns. And we could spend, I don't know, what
It's not that expensive.
no, for $250, I think we can do a 1 day campaign. And if we hit all the channels, we might be able to hit a broad group of people doing it all at once.
Right.
And we have the capacity in-house to do a short video and the graphics. So I think we can try something new if council's open to doing something new in this area.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Mr. Hartman?
Michael Hartman, 2 Court Garden Way. A lot of what I was going to say has been said in support of wanting to make greater efforts to reach people. We say in our chart in our city motto that we're inclusive, and I think it's important to show that in how we do things. I think it's important that not only how and where we advertise or you advertise this, but again, it's speaking in the language that people speak, and I don't mean foreign language. I mean in the vernacular that people use. Also, you might want to look at how you're advertising, what the goals are. Just saying it's a charter review sounds a little daunting and a little boring, dry stuff.
That's true.
But it's important to relate how important it is and how it changes people's lives, how it makes a difference, what's in the charter affects people's lives and the life of the city. And I think that if you had a more descriptive way of why someone would want to serve on the charter review, why they would have an interest, and find out what those interests are, and do more targeting of those special of how people get information, either to the ones that we always use are not effective. And I like hearing what people's ideas are that are different, and that you're making an effort, because I think it's critical that we get a wide viewpoint of what this is, and because people have different perspectives and it affects their lives in different ways, and I think that you can convey that in ways of making it relatable to their everyday lives and why it makes a difference. And not just a charter review, because a lot of people don't understand what the charter is. I mean, I looked at it and it looked, wow, are you kidding? So I think it's really important to make it desirable to do something. Thank you.
Yeah, those are all great points. In my mind, as we have been talking to people, it is important that the folks that we are recruiting to serve on this task force know a little bit about the city. And it is important, if they don't intimately know how the city works necessarily. I think it's also important for them to have sort of a grip on governance documents. So while we can certainly phrase it in a different way, make it more appealing, we could do a YouTube video, different things. There are certain fundamental things that are important. So, and I'm not sure, from what I'm hearing from my peers on council, you want to leave this open. And when would you like to, you said May the 12th?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm starting to rethink whether we should even introduce it for first reading tonight, and we should just make, I actually am not sure I'm going to make that motion. I think that would be the closest timeline I could think of, but I think I've changed my mind listening to my colleagues about all the events coming up. I don't think we want to leave it forever, but I think it's better. I mean, when we know that it's been a long time since the charter has had a comprehensive review, waiting another couple of months, putting it out in the connector, it's probably not actually going to hurt things. I think we should maybe we make our goal by the end of June instead of the end of March. So I think I'm changing my mind, and I think I am not actually in support of the timeline I suggested just a few minutes ago. So I'm not going to make a motion.
Well, you know, I think a lot of this is administrative. So, you know, if Mr. Samaran is comfortable waiting till, it's going to take a couple of months to kind of work through this. So you're thinking September or October or November maybe?
I appreciate the vote of confidence, Mr. Mayor. The charter is the community's vision for our local governance, and I think it's important that we get it right. So, in part, staff is reacting to that March deadline that we wanted to move along. So we've been diligent about scheduling the interviews. I think we've kept council very busy at scheduling interviews every month since we started the KIVCOP process. So you haven't had a month off of interviews, or there hasn't been much gaps in that line. So if council is amenable to keeping the process open, we are supportive of council. I think it's one, adjusting expectations of staff of when you want to see these things moving. We got the task from council to move this in March. We're now in April, and this is a good check-in. It said, hey, we've tried. We've got 11 people for 11 citizens for 10 slots, but we haven't checked all the boxes. So I welcome any leniency council has, and how much time you want to extend this further. I would advise that after this meeting, whatever we decide, we put together communication on behalf of council to all the 11 applicants to say, hey, we're eager to get this started. We appreciate your interest. Please be patient with us until we secure additional folks. Mm-hmm.
Council member.
Yeah, that was going to be what I asked, is that we reach out to people who have applied, who have been waiting, just let them know where we are in the process. And also, I wanted to suggest that as we're considering new applicants, that I think that we should probably close applications for Greenbelt Center, because we have so many applications for Greenbelt Center. I think we need to really focus on the other areas of the city at this point, because I think we could, if we reopen the process, we're going to probably get a lot of other great applicants from Greenbelt Center, but we need to, focus our energies and because it takes time to interview all these folks. So I think we need to try and focus our energies on other areas of the city at this point.
Councilmember McKinney.
In the spirit of transparency as well, I'm delighted that we've actually gotten some really great candidates and really great residents who are willing to be part of this process. So thinking optimistically that we will get additional volunteers from the other parts of the city, should we also communicate how we will make this selection? Because if we actually, to your point, we already have more than we need if we were to make this resolution. So we have to make a decision. And so going on what the mayor was talking about, there does need to be some amount of understanding of what a charter is. And I think that there were some differences in some of the candidates that we heard from. So I just want to be intentional and be as transparent as possible to when we're communicating people about how and when we are selecting them.
The staff, obviously it's council's decision on how you go about the criteria selecting the candidates to serve on this task force. What staff can do is we did work with council on the I believe there were 5 questions we offered for this process. We could simply give you a rating scale for each of those questions and you score them based on your interviews, because I understood that you asked that same questions of other candidates. That could be the easiest way to approach it on a 5-point scale. How do you rate the folks? And then you score them and you make your selection. That is a very administrative process that we go internally evaluating things, right? What are the questions we ask and we score folks on those questions? Council may have other things that you want to consider. Is there a balance of philosophies or opinions? Or I think it's difficult to put a scale on the many things that you're probably evaluating in your interviews. I welcome any feedback that I can get with Dwayne to figure out what is the right tool to put together for council.
So I guess as a follow-up, what I would say is we should probably do some due diligence. If we are spending the time to actually recruit additional people, maybe there may be some examples from other jurisdictions who may have gone through this of how they weight people on to a task force like this. I would suggest that we have some type of process to review.
I'm of the mind that no matter what sort of a tool you set up, it's still going to be subjective because we're each individuals. But the rating matrix is certainly a simple way to get us all maybe in the same chapter, if not on the same page. Mayor Pro Tem.
I was actually just going to make a counterpoint that I think there's a place for somebody who, if we can convince them to do it, who's never read any part of the city charter, because I think part of what is valuable is that yes, of course, and we had some people who were amazing and had done a whole lot of work already even before they came to our interviews. But I actually think it's useful if there's somebody who hasn't even looked at it, because that's an audience too, right? That if we have a mix of, it's a pretty large committee, I think there's a place for people who are sitting down with it but are willing to take a look and read it, because those people also need to understand the charter, and they may point out things like, what on earth does this mean? Or this could be way clearer. So I think balancing the expertise and different perspectives is what I would prioritize in terms of trying to come up with as balanced a group as we can in terms of different perspectives. We try to do that with the geography, but I think, and as well as the co-ops and businesses, but I think in addition, some with lots of expertise and some with maybe not as much expertise.
Well, regardless, this resolution would actually give us the flexibility to do these things and still come to a conclusion a little bit sooner. If after 2 months or 3 months we're not able to recruit the right mix of people, we'll have to come back and look at this again.
We have a couple hands in the room.
Oh, sure. Mr. Orleans.
I hope I will be forgiven for being a little bit confused by council. This was to be introduced for first reading tonight, and then it was suggested that the rules be suspended and be voted on, be adopted tonight. At one point, 1 or 2 members of council thought that we were rushing it and that it should only be introduced for first reading tonight. And then one of those members of council had a change of mind and ready to proceed with adopting it tonight. I'd like to suggest that this whole thing is a bit of a silly canard. When the task force was adopted by council, there wasn't a full opportunity for residents to comment on the makeup of the task force, which at least one resident thinks is unnecessary anyway. Every council meeting essentially is a meeting of the community. Every council meeting, there's an opportunity for members to suggest or for members of council to suggest amending our charter one way or the other. The fact that residents don't avail themselves and that council resists over many years amending the charter is another matter. Objections would have been made more so about the presence of Greenbelt businesses on the task force, or city staff on the task force, or members of city council on the task force. If this was truly to be an opportunity for residents to make suggested changes in the city, whether they're residents of Greenbelt or not, Greenbelt businesses have no place here. City staff have no place here, and certainly members of council have no place here on a task force made up of residents of the city. Lastly, I never fully had the opportunity to inquire about number 7 on this list, page 66. The task force will hold an initial open public meeting to solicit input. The way I read that suggests to me that it's council's intent that meetings of the task force thereafter, that initial meeting open to the public, might think that maybe some of those meetings of the task force should not be open to the public. I'm opposed to this task force to begin with, but if council tonight or next meeting or in May is going to adopt it, every meeting of the task force should be fully open to the public.
Well, thank you for those constructive comments, Mr. Orleans. So there's no, oh, I'm sorry, please.
Do you want a response to any of those?
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
I went over before, so I'll come in under budget this time. Full disclosure, I'm an applicant, but I'm also happy to make space for folks to be fully representative of a whole community. I hope to have a long life here in Greenbelt, so I'm not in any rush, but I will hope to participate however I can, either as a member or not, but this is more on the outreach side of things. I really, I've been at 2 meetings of the Reparations Commission. I don't think this was mentioned at either. I don't know, this is not meant to be a criticism. It's meant to be just understanding that this is an iterative process. Y'all are doing your best, and community engagement is hard. And, y'all don't get enough credit for the actual work that you have to do. But you have to, I think this has to be treated like a campaign, like any other kind of campaign. I think that, you have your air war where you're dropping mail, you're dropping social media. That's one tool, but there's also the ground war. How are you actually physically being out in the community and giving that direct invitation to people? Are you tabling like the Reparations Commission is doing at Giant? Are you knocking doors in these complexes that you want? Are you specifically sending targeted mail? What languages are you doing outreach in? Is there room for multilingual involvement in this process? How do you actually make this a model, not just for how we're doing it, but maybe how other jurisdictions can look at this and say, how are we inclusively building out our government, especially as we've taken the step to allow non-citizens to participate? Shouldn't they also find a way to help them participate and understand the charter that was just amended to help enfranchise them in our city processes? So I know it's always going to be hard, and you're always going to have to balance people's different interests, but I'm already thinking as an applicant, who are people I could invite in Greenbelt West, and how can I best make that pitch to people? Because I really do think this is important, and we want to show folks that their input will be valued. And on the back end, making sure that we're having public meetings in the different communities and actually advertising those with community organizations like CASA, like community organizations that have membership in our city, because I think that the passive social media ask will only get you so far, but the personal ask and building relationships, because this is really about cultivating civic leaders in Greenbelt West and Greenbelt East, not just for today, but for all the future commissions going forward.
Thank you.
And I was under time this time.
Okay, I believe you withdrew your motion, so there's no motion. Oh, I didn't think you did. Okay, well, let's, we've got a whole lot left on this agenda, and I don't think we're going to be able to actually get to it all tonight. Councilmember Pompey was just tugging my coattail about what to do next.
So I propose that we, item number 18, which I suggested that we move that to the next meeting. I just don't think we're going to have time to talk about that tonight. And then I was also thinking item number 16, the compost, because I feel like that's just going to be a larger discussion. And I want us to have actual time to have that discussion. And it's already almost 10:30.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So
Is that your motion?
you can motion to table that to the next meeting?
Yeah,
Yes.
I move to table item 16 and 18 to the next meeting.
Second.
Councilmember McKinney, you seconded. All in favor, please. This is a roll call. All in
You get to
favor.
discuss that at all?
Yeah, let's discuss it, please.
I think the thing about the Armory site, this item 16, is that we did already discuss it at a work session. I mean, I don't know that there's necessarily a huge amount of urgency to do it this meeting versus next meeting, but we did already have a work session on the topic, and I don't know that it is. I guess I think we could probably decide fairly quickly, because I think we've already discussed it at a work session, and I'm not sure it's particularly controversial. It is a temporary use of the Armory space for composting, but if others aren't comfortable in voting of it, I guess I can support that. I just am not sure that it's actually going to take that long to.
Okay, but you were saying, I think you were saying something about Green Aces meeting in the next few days to actually discuss
Not
other
about this,
aspects.
it's something entirely different.
Oh my.
Not related to this at all. They've already met on this.
I would let's just table
Okay,
it.
But we can move
all
this
in
to-
favor of tabling, do I need to do a roll call on a motion to table? Oh, okay, let's do a roll call then.
Ms. Niesel?
I'm sorry, are we tabling 16 or not?
16 and 18, that's the
18?
motion,
Okay.
yes.
That's fine, we can move
Sure,
it to next.
Sure, yes.
Ms. McKinney?
Yes.
Ms. Pompey?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts? Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, so that's going to bring us back to item number 15, I believe. And item number 15, under other business, is authorizing the city manager to execute contracts for the Versatum contract renewal. Council packet, there are two renewal invoices from Versatum for the public portal cloud host and for the Blue Team NextGen cloud host annual maintenance, including providing all software upgrades, the associated materials and technical support via phone and email. The recommendation is that we authorize the city manager to execute this contract for $10,833.27. Chief Barris, would you like to comment quickly? So what's the difference between the public portal and the Blue Team NextGen? Is this one public facing, the other is staff facing?
So yeah. Essentially, the public portal is the part that we're required to have, so residents or citizens can make compliments or complaints against police officers through our website. The rest of it is the internal database that we use to manage and all of the internal HR functions for complaints, commendations, and all of those functions.
Okay, so on the administrative side, Lieutenant Apgar would actually be overseeing the results, the information that comes in. or
Lieutenant
would that
Parsley
be-
actually handles that database. Yeah, part of our professional standards.
Okay. So would someone like to make a motion?
Motion. I move that the council authorize the city manager to execute the contracts for the, what is it? Verstasum contract renewal for $10,833.27.
Second.
Ms. Pope has seconded. Is there any additional conversation? So this is these are software licenses, so this is an annual thing?
Yes, sir.
And we've had the software for 2 or 3 years?
We've had it for about 5 years now.
About 5 years. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion does carry.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Item number 19. I think we've discussed that, so I'd like to. I actually pulled that off of the agenda.
Turned into a discussion item.
Discussion.
You've
I
had
think we
the
already talked
discussion.
about that.
Mhm.
Okay. Item number 20, council activities. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yep. Let me pull it up. A long list.
It's been a busy 2 or 3 weeks. Was it 3 weeks, 4 weweeks?
It's going to be another busy
It's going to be
Yeah.
very busy.
spring.
So yeah, shout out the Greenbelt Business Conference breakfast was excellent. I think most of us were able to attend. Really interesting presentations, and we had pretty high dignitaries. We had Congressman Glenn Ivey stayed for I think the whole thing, which was great.
I was at work.
You were working, we know. Yeah.
Didn't schedule it. We scheduled on purpose, but not to keep
Of
you
course,
out,
of course.
but,
It's
you
okay.
know, it's morning.
I forgive you.
Anything else that anyone wants to call out?
Arbor Day tree planting, that was a lot of fun, even though it was wet out there. It was very, very wet. And the chapter of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority that was sort of spearheading that effort, they've been involved in a lot of things in our community for quite some time. So they offered to do a cleanup in the next few months, community cleanup, and also I think they had a goal. What did they say their goal was? To plant 2,000 more trees or 1,900 trees. So
Don't remember what they said.
it was a big number. So
It was a really big number.
yeah, those
like
ladies are serious. When they say they're
Yes.
going to do something, they do it.
trees or something. I mean, it was a
I think across for all the chapters.
for all the chapters. Yes, yes.
Yeah, council member.
Councilmember Niesel and I attended the first CORES Action Group meeting on Friday, and there were like more than 20 people there, and lots of great energy and ideas, and yeah, 84 ideas. So it was it was a great meeting. Melissa Ann did a great job facilitating, and it was just, and there were some people there who had never come out to any kind of Greenbelt event before or joined a board or a committee, and this was just something that really spoke to them. So it was really great to see that, and lots of familiar faces too were there, so as well. So anyway, it was just really great. It was a great start. So
Are they calling it an action group? I think, or task force? What do you?
task force.
It is task force. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I have it right.
Yes, task force. So it was great though. Good first meeting.
Are they going to meet again in the next month, or what's the schedule that they're thinking
Yeah, the
about?
next meeting is going to be in 2 Fridays. So what is that, April 26th or?
April 25th, I think. Then.
Yeah.
Friday night?
Yep. It'll be 6 to 7:30.
Try and make that. Okay, any other, oh, I missed that news review open house. How was that?
It was good. I just stopped in. They actually had some really good cookies. Not that that's the most important thing, but they did have some really good cookies. But yes, I always enjoy stopping in there to see their operations. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the last item on the agenda, which is your proposal to write a letter to Governor Moore.
Yeah, I think we just have seen some news articles and things recently, and the city is I think long on record as opposing the maglev, and it sounds like we need to remind the governor of our oppositions and our opposition and our reasons why. So I move that we repurpose previous language that we've used for opposing the maglev and compose a letter to send to Governor Moore and Lieutenant Governor Miller. And anyone else that seems appropriate, just to remind them of our concerns about that project and the implications for Greenbelt.
Second.
Okay, just a couple of thoughts. I think we need to do more than that. I think we need to really strategize. I think we need to talk to our legal counsel for their take on exactly where we are and where this seems to be going. With the letter, we do have a Four Cities meeting coming up next week. So do you think it would be more impactful to write something from the Four Cities as opposed to individually?
I'm not so sure because I'm not sure how they are affected, quite honestly. Like College Park, I'm not quite sure.
I think my reasoning for trying to do it now is because it was just in the news, the trip just happened, and I think doing a timely, something timely right after that has all been in the news is what seemed important to me. I'm certainly not opposed to doing other things later on, but I just think that it would be good to respond to this recent trip and say, hey, we're a little concerned about this. here, just reminding the governor and the lieutenant governor about our concerns.
I agree,
So-
and tell them what we did so far, how, we've been opposing this for a few years now, and give him a little rundown, because apparently he may not be aware of that.
And just to clarify, we're more than a little concerned. We're concerned
Yes.
about the trip.
Yes, well, that too, but I guess I was thinking more the concerns about the maglev project in general, but I think that is, yes, it's because he did this trip and seems
Right.
in support, and that is concerning.
Would have to say it's a little unclear exactly what he meant by what he said. He's a little bit of a nerd. He likes to go fast, and that connection, the corridor. I get all that. It's just the route and the process in this particular partner, I think, is what's problematic. So, yeah, let's go ahead and vote. I just think we need to really strategize and really think this through and think through who is with us, and so we can make the maximum impact. I'm not sure that a quick letter is going to do it, but any other comments?
We do have one online, Jay Davis.
Jay Davis, are you there?
Yes, I am. Jay Davis, Greenbelt East. Thank you for taking and putting this on the agenda so quickly. I think not only a letter, but if you also included photos of what we will lose if this goes through, a map of the forest preserve, showing where the train will go through and how that will bisect it. You need some visual with this letter, because otherwise he won't. And if a future thing, ask him to come for a tour, have him come out. So those are all things you can do in the future, but definitely include some pictures. This is what we're trying to save.
I think including an invitation for the governor to tour the forest preserve as part of the letter seems like a good idea. I mean, he might not take it, but we can extend the invitation.
She's an engineer.
Lieutenant Governor might. Just with the route, there's two sides. So, if we, push really, really hard on the forest preserve, I'm just going to switch it to the other side, which is also a bad thing for Greenbelt.
Well, it's also a lot of homes that would be affected.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the worst part about it is not really even our forest preserve, it's what they want to do to Bark and all the other forests that are along the line, because they want to take 300 acres of Bark and turn it into their train yard. So that dwarfs, what they're doing to us.
Yeah, the thing is with the environmental impact study, that can't really move forward without support from the state. So if Governor Moore is on board, then that can actually move forward. It's the problem. The state, in order to get the federal government to move on it. So let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Council, thank you for sitting through and working through a lot of the conversations today. It was a long meeting, good meeting, and we've got more to talk about at the next council meeting. So I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Ms. Pope is seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Do we have to call the roll for adjournment?
We don't have to call the roll, no.
I lose
This
track of-
meeting